I got beer in my boots, dirt on my truck, corn on my mind, and a gun up my butt. It's a small town. At least there's dirt, at least there's beer and trucks and shirts.
Howdy there. You've been on the internet all day and you come across the Death of Fun podcast. Join me, Matt McKinley, and my buddies Aaron, Rob, and Tim as we bring you the latest in current events, sports, and a whole bunch of inappropriate jokes that we used to tell to each other back when we were roommates in college. And the world wasn't so lame. So kick back, crack a beer, and join us for a few laps. Unless you're gay. And even if you are, join us anyways. Welcome to the Death of Fun. Oh, welcome back.
Intro, unless you're gay. Come on.
It's an AI generated song. I'm gonna have to tweak the intro to. I'm gonna make a specific sports intro, but AI is fucking wild. I'm in the middle on whether it's gonna be the downfall of society or if it's pretty fucking cool, because some of the shit is really fucking cool. Some of it's horrifying, but that's for a different show. We're not here to talk any politics or current events if they don't come up organically. Mostly we're going to talk about sports because it's really the greatest time of year. Like, college football starts for real this week. We had week zero. Week zero kind of sucked. The NFL starts next week, and like the MLB playoff picture, like we talked last week, is really coming together, and it's starting to get good. And particularly in the NL West, where there's three legit like World Series contenders in the NL West, and unfortunately, the Rockies are not one of them, and probably won't be for quite some time. But hey, at least we're mentioned in the best division in baseball right now.
I don't know about that. I think the AL Central's catching up.
AL Central's pretty fucking good. AL East is good. There's MLB baseball is really fun right now. Like, it's the first year I've paid attention in quite a while, and there's a lot of changes that I don't necessarily care for, because I'm at my most boomer when I'm talking baseball. However, say what you will about the fence at Yankee Stadium. Aaron Judge is a fucking tank, and Shohei Ohtani is the best goddamn player to ever play baseball at this moment. Like Jesus Christ, that guy's so good.
That he's about to win his second MVP, and he didn't even pitch.
Yeah, he's at 40-40, and we're not even in September yet.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's stupid. Just wait till he comes back pitching and then still puts up 40-40. That dude is ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard not to root for him, because he's making more history. He's on pace for a 50-50 season.
Well, and he's like classic Japanese guy that just like, I saw him hit a 440-something foot home run the other day, and his expression never changed.
No,
it was what is he's like 6'5" or something like that. A Japanese dude. 6'5", like the biggest Japanese dude there is. And he's got a swing like Ken Griffey Jr. and just hits rockets, and no change in expression.
Nothing. It's his job. It's like Jokic for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
He's doing it for a paycheck. No expression.
Yeah, he's like a factory worker. Like, does he love it? Maybe, but it doesn't show it. Doesn't show it a bit. Oh. Jokic, actually, I don't think he likes it at all. He'd rather be in Serbia.
He likes playing for Serbia. He doesn't like having to play for the Nuggets. He's He's in Denver for a paycheck. He's having fun when he's playing for the national team.
Well, which is good. The rest of the world's starting to catch up to the U.S. in basketball, but we still fucking dominated that.
Oh, not even close.
Not even close. I don't follow basketball, but I think as the season progresses and we run out of football to talk about, I feel like we're gonna have to start watching hockey and basketball and just keep it going as a shitty betting podcast. But might as well. Like I said, we were talking before, like with all the, particularly being the craziest election year in at least 50 years. They're like, it's real easy to just go hard in on politics and just get really cynical with the world. And I don't want to do that. And there's a lot of people that'll be like, yeah, just, eat your bread and watch your circus like the Romans did. But like, I think sports are important. I really do. Even if they are meaningless in the grand scheme of things. It's a well-needed distraction. And also, like, my kid's 7 and he's starting to get interested in sports. And I'm like, all right, this now I'm in dad mode. I can tell you how the game works and why we like these teams. And like, I kind of hope he picks a different team from me so we can talk shit for the rest of our lives,
Like a good team instead of CSU.
Oh, gee.
Good team.
I want to talk shit on Wyoming so bad, but I really can't because I love Wyoming as a state, and that's the funnest rivalry I've ever seen in action was the CSU Wyoming rivalry. The border war didn't matter if it was in Laramie or CSU. It was so much fun because you'd get drunk together in the parking lot talking shit the whole time. You'd go into the game and scream the worst obscenities at each other and then go to the same bar after the game.
Just have a great night.
Have a great night talking shit the entire time. It was the best, like, fun-natured rivalry I've ever seen. Like, CU, CSU, fuck them. Like, I grew up a CU fan, and I kind of, just for the state of Colorado, I kind of hope Dion does something cool over at CU.
They need to break open.
But I will never be a CU fan again, just because of their fan base during the Mile High Showdown. Like that's a nasty rivalry, and it turned a lifelong CU fan into just like anti-CU. And so, yeah, like I thought it was cool that Dion came over, and I was excited to see what he could do. It was pretty cool watching him beat Nebraska because even though I'm not a CU fan, fuck Nebraska because we're Colorado.
Fuck Nebraska.
Yeah.
State.
And that's a classic rivalry that just like got shut off, when big Nebraska moved to the Big Ten. And I'm also glad to have you on for college football, because with all the conference reshuffling and all the shit that's like, it's almost like I'm watching a sport for the first time. Even though I know a lot of these schools, it's just like it's so different from when I was in college. And so it's I think by like week 6, week 7, we might be having some actual like heated discussions and conversations and analysis. But up until then, I'm gonna mostly kind of take your word for it as I'm getting caught back up. But I forget where I was going with that. But anyways, it's just sports is awesome. Like it gives guys a place to blow off steam without actually hitting each other. Like it's just guys need to. We need to talk shit. We have to be able to talk shit or we get violent, Yeah. And sports is the best way to do that. because I mean, and just like you have your enclaves, like me and you, we're Colorado guys, we're Colorado sports fans, but even so, you're a Wyoming guy, I'm a CSU guy. Like there's even within your little regional enclave, there's different subsets of fan bases, and there's just so much room to talk shit. And I love all of that part about sports. And then plus just being like, we get to see like the pinnacle of manly men doing cool shit. You know, it's regardless of whether you're a sports fan or not. Like if you see some dude making a one-handed catch and then getting rocked and still be able to hold on to that catch, like you're just like, fuck, that's impressive. It's impressive. Yeah. Same way, like if some dumb shit somehow makes a good bronc ride, you're just like, even if you don't like him, you're just like, wow. Fuck, man, sat him. Good work. You got him. Good work. And so I just I don't know. I think we've got away from it in the last 5-10 years of like America being sports fans, and you can see it in the general public where like people start talking shit, which would normally be like sports shit talking, to now where they're just like they're about ready to get into actual fights, and the people that are talking shit aren't actually ready to fight either. So it's just, let's talk shit about football and baseball. It's a better way to vent your frustrations, I suppose, as a dude.
I agree.
But it's what a great time of year. Like baseball is we're past that like dog days of summer, and now we're in the final stretch for the playoff race. It's pretty safe to say that like Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, like that's the cream of the crop of as far as record goes. Dodgers are kind of banged up. We'll see how they finish out the season, but they got a $500 million payroll, and then with that comes the best players in the league. So, Shohei Ohtani has very little chance of getting hurt. So like you said before, he's on pace for 50-50. He just hit 40-40, and it's not even September yet. So yeah, he's good chance he'll get 50 home runs, 50 steals, and like nobody's gonna be that surprised by it because he's just that fucking good.
Makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. A guy that big is that fast. He's almost as fast as Bobby Witt Jr.
Right.
And Corbin Carroll down there in Arizona. Doesn't make for a guy that large to be as fast as he is, but he is.
Yeah, except Corbin Carroll's hitting like 250 maybe, and Shohei's hitting over 300.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's insane.
Yeah. And
Bobby Witt or Aaron Judge wins AL MVP. I don't know if there's going to be competition in the NL. There's competition in the AL for MVP right now, but not in the NL. No one's as good as Shohei.
No, Acuna, it was always a threat until he got hurt.
Yeah.
But even before, he was having kind of a down year.
Yeah, he was kind of worried about tearing his ACL again and wasn't playing as good as he usually does.
No, and then, there's really not much discussion in the National League as far as MVP. Like it's Shohei. Even as a DH, he just the dude's incredible. And then wait till he starts pitching again, where he's still a Cy Young candidate every fucking year. Like I'm not sure if he's actually human. If we're being 100% honest,
he might not be.
Those Japanese they're up to some shady shit, I'm sure, and Shohei might be their greatest creation. I don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it. It would not surprise me if that was tomorrow's headline.
It's Imperial Japan's ultimate revenge. Like, you nuked us, but we created a robot that took over your sport.
Yeah. A guy who hits nukes.
Exactly. Bryce Harper is having a hell of a year. The Phillies, they're kind of, it's weird. Is like the Phillies and the Dodgers are kind of slumping at the time you want to slump. Like just going into September. So if you can ramp back up, I wouldn't be surprised to see like the Padres or the Diamondbacks kind of drop off in September, because they've been on such a heater here lately.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to maintain that level of performance in Major League Baseball. There's so many games, and there's so many ups and downs in baseball, and it's such a streaky sport. It just it was like when the Rockies went to the series. They caught the Magic, had to fight to get into the playoffs, and then they swept all the way through, and they looked unbeatable. But the Red Sox got hot right at the right time. They had to win 3 straight to clinch the ALCS, and they're still hot coming in, where the Rockies had to sit 11 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And and then Rockies got swept. It's such a streaky game.
It's like Arizona and the Rangers last year.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Arizona. They swept their way to the World Series. They had to sit. The Rangers got hot, won the ALCS, and took over.
I think so. It's and then there's that I've heard a lot of talk since they added the extra wild card, and they made it a full series for the wild card. The teams that get the bye have not performed particularly well, and it must be the layoff. And so if you're a team like San Diego, like, you want to maintain right where you're at, keep the number 1 wild card spot. Don't worry about winning the division, because you just keep that momentum going into the wild card series. Win the 3 game, and you're already in a groove by the time you get to the division series, where the Dodgers have to lay off for a week at least, and it fucks with the rhythm. I wouldn't say it's conclusive, but it's all the data is kind of leaning that way. Is like that bye is not particularly helpful in baseball.
It's not. It's the same thing in football, maybe to a lesser extent. But when you're sitting for that long, you see it in hockey, because hockey's had that wild card playoff for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Go into the wild card, unless they're one of the best teams. The teams that go to the wild card and they win, they're coming off hot. They're coming off playing. They're in the zone. They've got the momentum with them. And then when you're sitting there, you're just waiting. You don't know who you're going to play. You don't know what's going to happen next. You can game plan. All right, we win this series, we're playing the Avs, or we're playing, hell, I don't even know who's good anymore except for the Avs.
Yeah, but I don't know hockey that what we're gonna have to learn as football ends and we transition. We're gonna have to learn hockey a little bit.
Do a deep dive.
Yeah. But it's funny. I think the bye helps more in football, strictly to injuries. And it's not to downplay baseball injuries, but baseball's not near, particularly in today's day and age. It's not a contact sport, and so where the injuries can be pretty pretty nagging, more in baseball, more nagging than anything, unless you throw out your elbow or some shit like that. It's they're not as like devastating as football injuries, because it's just a different sport.
Right.
So it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see as it plays out. As we have more data to analyze whether or not the bye is a hindrance or not, which if that becomes the case, then you have teams like trying to just not win the division.
Yeah.
And because for all the pride and shit that's in sports, like the franchises care about, they care about winning. And winning championships. So if that means they have to sacrifice the division, fuck, they'll do it. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out long term. Kind of the same way like college football with this new playoff system, like and the NIL stuff. I mean, it's college football is almost a new sport at the moment.
It really is. It's like you're getting schools like Boulder, who perennially have been kind of backwater teams since the turn of the century, especially since they went to the Pac-12 and
now back to the Big 12.
Back to the Big 12, and they're getting the best recruiting classes, the best transfer classes. They've got people who are fighting to get there. Now people want to be in Boulder. You've got teams like Ole Miss who were kind of under the radar, stealing people away, stealing players away, stealing commitments, all because whoever's got the most money, and then you're leaving teams like Wyoming, Colorado State, the Mountain West. You've got teams that are in the MAC who are almost on the cusp of really being perennially good. And Wyoming's a perennially good team. I can't say the same about CSU, but as much as a dig that was, I'm gonna say, first of all, fuck you. Hey,
but you're right. You're right.
Yeah, no, but it's tough because then you're looking at CSU and they've got good players, and then this year they get hot.
Yeah.
A few years ago, y'all had Michael Gallup.
Yeah.
Michael Gallup was a great wide receiver. But y'all have another Michael Gallup this year coming in as a freshman. He goes off for 700, 800, 900 yards, 5, 10 touchdowns. He's gone.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is I think the spread on CSU CU last year was like 20 points or something like that. CSU was like 20 points dogs, but it still shows that those rivalry games in college football matter.
Yeah.
Because CSU took them to like 3 overtimes or some shit like that.
Yeah, it was not an easy win for
CSU. CSU should have won that game. They
let it. They kind of screwed the pooch.
I lost. I got cocky. I won money on CU week 1 against TCU, and I had no faith in CSU at all. So I was like, all right, I'll take that spread. I think Deion's feeling hot, and he was, but CSU was like, nah, you ain't getting it that easy. They got CU got the win eventually, but that was a fucking good game, and it goes to show that those rivalry games still mean something. How long that lasts with these like conference restructuring, I don't know, because and you're quite a bit younger than me, but still, your whole life, the Rose Bowl has been the winner of the Big Ten versus the winner of the Pac-12. And now the Pac-12 does not exist.
It's going to be Oregon State versus the winner of Big Ten.
Yeah. And like half of the Pac-12 is now in the Big Ten, which has 14 teams or some shit like that. Yeah. They still call it the Big Ten for some reason.
No, it doesn't make sense. Then you've got teams like Stanford, USC, and UCLA, and joining the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody who watches you. I know most of us Cowboys don't maybe have the greatest grasp of maps, but they're not on the Atlantic Coast.
Yeah, it's kind of like putting Ukraine in NATO, because Ukraine doesn't touch the Atlantic whatsoever. And just like Cal Berkeley doesn't have, I mean, they're literally like 4,000 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean, and they're in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So, I mean, I guess eventually they'll rename it, but I don't know. Like I was saying, like the college football is a whole different sport this year. Like it's they're now it's 14 teams in the playoffs.
12.
12 teams, and then a whole bunch of conference restructuring, and then you add the players being able to make money. Like it's transfer portal, all of it. It's kind of the Wild West. It's still college football that we've all grown up with, but it's still like it's completely different.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. College again is wild too. Like I used to have class with players on the team. It almost feels like even if I'm in a big class, they're not taking those classes. They've got them in their little special rooms.
Oh yeah,
because they don't want to. It's so celebrity now. I was at Ole Miss for a semester, and it was the culture down there. This was right before they passed the NIL, and even the culture down there was so much shifted. They're not student athletes anymore. They're just athletes.
Oh, it was
for every pro except for baseball.
It was ridiculous even when I was in college, and that's so I was a freshman in 2004, so 20 years ago. But at CSU, the football players essentially all lived in the towers. But my RA was a tutor for like 5 or 6 different football players. So like I kind of knew most of them were not starters at the time, but they became like, by the time they were juniors, they were starters and like big name CSU football players. And I'd never had a class with them. And I had, there's plenty of those big classes where there was a good chance you would, even if you'd never met somebody in real life, you had taken the same class. Yeah. And I was never in a class with a football player. I did, however, have a friend who he was a big black dude from Boston. And he had the whitest name of all time. His name was Gregory O'Bannon. And and everybody assumed he was on the football team because he was like a 6'4" black dude. There's not many of those in Fort Collins. And he was big. Like he looked like a football player. And he was not particularly smart, but he was street smart. And when the football team had an away game, he just didn't show up to class. And they and all the professors just assumed he was on the football team. And like I know he didn't do the work to pass that class, but he always passed. Like we were always he was the one black dude in the ag college, and we had a lot of the same classes.
That's hilarious.
He was funny dude. Greg O'Bannon was a good son of a bitch. I always enjoy it. He'd come to our cookouts and stuff. But yeah, it's funny. He didn't play come on a athletic scholarship at all, but everybody had just assumed he was on the football team because he looked the part, and he just when they had a road game, he didn't show up.
That's smart.
Yeah, I was just like, hey, fucking
more power to you. If you can get away with it.
Yeah. If they don't call you on it, are you really cheating?
If you don't get caught, what you did wrong.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So let me pop up the betting site. I'm using mybookie.com. They do a pretty decent job of their lines are essentially the same as everybody else, but of all the big Vegas sites. So that's who I bet with, even though I live in Nevada and gambling's legal. To bet on there's only a handful of sportsbook apps through the big casinos, and to get signed up with that, you have to actually go into the casino and show your ID to activate your account on the app. And all those casinos are in Vegas, which is 300 miles from here.
That's wild. So like for the Caesar and BetMGM, you have to go into the casino for those?
Yeah. Just to verify your ID. And then you can bet on the app. No problem. And I wish I could, because it's with my bookie, they're based out of the Bahamas. So I have to either call my bank every time I want to deposit money, or I have to go through Bitcoin. So I don't have, because if you use your debit card for overseas purchases, it flags it for fraud automatically.
That's weird.
Yeah. So I do Bitcoin instead, but it's a good website, and it works in all 50 states. So that's why I use it. Anyways, as far as baseball goes, I've got a couple bets going on right now. I don't bet very much. I think it's like $1, $2 a piece on baseball games, but baseball's hard to bet, and your best bet really for value is going for parlays, and
parlays are huge.
But even so, like, baseball's just weird because there's so many games, and they're hard to bet. I guess there's probably something on division winner odds and stuff like that, but I haven't looked it up yet. But let's go into college football.
I'm seeing some weird odds. I was looking at CBS. I was looking at USA Today and ESPN and NBC Today. And Ole Miss right now, and I'm biased a little bit because I went to Ole Miss and I'm a big Ole Miss fan. But Ole Miss is ranked number 6 right now. And almost every single media person, every single article I'm reading says they're overrated. But those are the same people who voted to put Ole Miss at number 6. You want to say they're overrated, you also got to say who overrated them, and that's you. I think.
That being said, how is Ole Miss going to do?
I think they're going to do great, and I've got a few reasons why. I don't think they're going to compete for the SEC championship, as much as it hurts to hear me say that, because we've got teams like Georgia, Texas, and Oklahoma now. Texas and Oklahoma, who are coming in from the Big 12. To kind of put a kibosh on that. And especially since they kind of did away with the divisions. It's no longer SEC East and SEC West. Even though they could have done 6 teams in each division and had it geographically marked, it would have been perfect. Really frustrated me. But Ole Miss, I think, is going to finish at least 10-2. And I say that because Ole Miss's toughest game is against Georgia, and they've got Georgia at home. And I've had the unique privilege of being able to go to several Ole Miss games at home, and that stadium is insane. You know, and it gets raucous, it gets loud. They tailgate at the Grove, and it's a tough environment. I'd say it's on par with going to play at LSU. And I don't think Ole Miss is going to make an undefeated bid, but I think they're going to sneak in. They had the number 1 transfer portal class in the nation, which means they brought in a ton of veteran talent. And when you have players who played at Alabama, Georgia, these commits who were supposed to go at 5-star levels to play at Georgia, Alabama, Texas, that they've kind of stolen away, you're putting yourself up for success. They lost their best running back, Quinshon Judkins. He went over to Ohio State. But they refilled his position really quick. And the guy they had behind him rushed for 700 yards behind Quinshon Judkins, I think 1,400 yards last season. I think I would argue Ole Miss is a dark horse pick to take it to the Natty. They've got the experience. They've got the talent. Lane Kiffin's a great head coach. He's gone up against the best, and he's beaten the best outside of Alabama and Georgia. We lost to Georgia big time in Athens last year. I think the final score was something like 52-17. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think if Ole Miss loses to Georgia, it's going to be close, and it's not going to be an easy win. I think Ole Miss finishes the season 11-1. They're right behind Texas and Georgia for, the SEC seeding. They're going to come in. I've got them ranked right now coming in at number 7. I think, if they finish the season, even if they make don't make the SEC championship, they realistically could finish 11-1, 12-0 if they can come up against Georgia.
Okay. All right. So I've got the AP top 25 right here. So Georgia is Georgia. Kirby Smart seems to be the new Nick Saban of college football. Georgia is kind of like the Astros until proven otherwise. They're gonna win the SEC.
I don't disagree with that. I would argue that Texas is a pretty good team to pick to beat Georgia if they come down to it in the SEC championship. But Texas and Georgia don't play until theoretically the SEC championship. I'm gonna fact check myself real quick. Georgia plays Texas on October 19th.
Okay.
And then they play Texas at Texas, and then they play against Florida at home and then against Ole Miss. So they've got 2 of their toughest games, I'd say, are on the road against top 10 teams, top 6 teams, Ole Miss and Texas. And Ole Miss is the 3rd or 4th highest ranked SEC team. I don't think Alabama should be seated that high. Michigan on the Natty, and they dropped to number 9.
That's true. Before we can you see the screen? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. And you see me scrolling?
Yeah.
You see me scrolling. Okay, just checking. I had a notification that my screen share was not working, but if you can see it, I'm gonna keep it up there. I think the national championship goes through the SEC. The Big Ten. So number 2, we got Ohio State. They're going to be good. Don't get me wrong. That defense is nasty. Ohio State's always good. And as much as I hate the SEC bias, SEC bias is legit. Like there's a reason why the bias exists. Honestly, I like Oregon in the Big 12.
the Big Ten.
Oregon. All right, Big Ten. That's what I meant. The knock against them is always the big game. But playing in the Big Ten this year, they're going to have more big games to have to win, and they're going to have to get gritty. And I don't know. I like Oregon a lot. Maybe winning the Big Ten. Definitely in the playoff. I think they're going to be in the playoff.
I don't doubt that they're a playoff team, but they have to play Ohio State during the regular season. So no matter what, I don't think Oregon's going to beat Ohio State this year. Dylan Gabriel's a great quarterback. They got him transferring over from Oklahoma, and I just don't see Dylan Gabriel being able to truly dominate an Ohio State defense, and that's the only way you're going to beat Ohio State.
Right. You're going to have to put up a lot of points, and Ohio State's got an elite defense. So, that being said, I like Oregon. Are they gonna win the Big Ten? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, but my money's still on Ohio State. But in a playoff situation, I kind of like Oregon.
I don't think Oregon is going to be a bad pick. I think Oregon, even if they lose to Ohio State twice during the season, once during the regular season, once in the Big Ten championship, a 10-2 Oregon or an 11-2 Oregon even is going to be, seeded 6th, 7th. It's going to have a decent seeding. It's going to win their first game in the quarters, and I'd argue probably take on Ohio State or Georgia. Again, we could have Oregon playing Ohio State 3 times in one season.
Yeah, because they got to play regular season. They could play in the Big Ten championship and then conceivably play again in the playoff. And if it comes down to three times in a season, edge obviously to Ohio State. They got the defense.
Yeah, but I mean, Oregon's going to win one of those games. Odds are, even if Ohio State wins 2 out of 3, they still are going to lose one. Whether that's
right, and it might be a playoff game.
Yeah, if it's a playoff game, I mean, if Oregon loses to Ohio State twice, in the regular season and the Big Ten championship, they come up against them in the semifinals or even the finals. I mean, what would that even? And Oregon wins, that'd be insane.
So before we go, we got the top 3 out of the way. How does the playoff system work? It's I know so it's like the top 5 conference winners get automatic bid, right?
So yeah, the top 4, because it's no longer Power 5 because the Pac-12 doesn't exist.
You're right.
So it's going to be the top 4 conference winners. So
we got Big 12, SEC,
and Big 10.
Yeah.
So they get an automatic bid. They're usually seeded first, unless we have like a Clemson or a Florida State ACC team who wins the conference at a 10-2 record. They're not going to they're not going to get a bye week.
They're not going to be the number 4 seed. No.
So rankings don't necessarily mean the same thing as the seeding.
So you get the top 4 conference winners, and then the top seeded of the non-power 4 or whatever.
Yeah, so the group of 5, I guess it's called the group of 5. So like you've got if we had a 17th ranked Boise State, so even if they're not in the top 12, they get a bid because they're the top ranked. Yeah, but they're not going to be seeded 17th because Wyoming's going to take them down at home.
But they get an automatic bid whether they win their conference or not. It's the top ranked of the non or the group of 5 or whatever they call it.
I think so. I wouldn't quote on that because it would make sense if we had an 11 and like a 13-0 Liberty versus a 13-0 Boise State. Boise State has the edge because they had a tougher strength of schedule. So Boise State gets in whether or not they win their conference championship or not. And then they kind of just fill in the rest with the top 12. So it's really more the top 11. So top 11 teams get in.
Now is it 12 total teams or is it 14? I thought it was 14.
Pretty sure it's 12-team playoff.
I'm looking that up right now. Because I think the top 2 seeds get a bye, right?
Top 4 seeds get a bye.
Top 4.
So
well, that makes
quarterfinals and then semifinals, and then that's how it works. Where the hell?
Okay, so schedule for the 20. So first round is it's December 20th and 21st. There is 4 games. The quarterfinals is 4 games, so it'd be 8 teams in the quarterfinals, 2 teams with a bye. So,
looking at the college football playoff website, they're saying that the 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4, and each will receive a first round bye. So conceivably, Wyoming runs the table. They're 13-0. Florida State and the ACC have a terrible season. They finish 9-3. Wyoming, is undefeated. They end up being seeded 5th, and Florida State seeded 7th. Wyoming gets an automatic bid and a bye week. It doesn't matter their conference. It's not Power 4 versus the rest. It's top 4 seeded conference champs.
Okay. Huh.
All
right.
Florida State making the playoff is pretty low, though. I'm going to keep my odds on Wyoming all the way.
So 12 teams, top 4 conference, and then they fill from there.
Yep.
Okay. So of course, we don't know what the rest of the ACC is going to look like. So just given general, I guess historical record, you're looking at the SEC champion, the Big 10 champion, the Big 12 champion, and the ACC champion.
Yeah,
is most in a normal year. That's what your top 4 seeds would be. We don't know what the rest of the ACC is going to look like, but Florida State just got beat in Dublin, and they were like a 13.5-point favorite going into the game.
And they were actually losing. They tied it up on a long field goal right before half, made it 14-all.
Yeah.
They couldn't fight Georgia Tech's defense. And that was their issue last year. They played bad defenses. They looked great. They played good defenses. They looked like they didn't know what they were doing.
And they've got DJ Ukulele as their quarterback, and he has been way overhyped. Like
and he's bad here.
For what he has been projected to be, he has not performed to that. Like he was shitty at Clemson. He was better at Oregon State, but they had a mostly running offense.
Yeah, he barely had to throw the ball outside of a dink and dunk.
So like he's not been good. I was not good on my week 0 college bets. I think the only leg of my parlay that hit was the Division II school that beat up on New Mexico. Was it Montana State or North?
Montana State. Yeah, it was Montana State who took the fight to New Mexico. It was great. It was a big comeback win. it was a big play for small market teams. Montana State's always kind of in the running in the D2 playoff.
Yeah.
And they showed why.
That was my only hit this weekend, but unfortunately that wasn't a singular bet. It was a leg of a parlay, so I didn't win shit. I had the under in the Florida State Georgia Tech game. That the over hit on that. I think I had Florida State covering the spread, and it was I don't think it was two touchdowns, but I think it was like 11.5 or 13.5, something like that. Yeah, obviously they lost, so that didn't hit. And then SMU Nevada, I thought was going to be a shootout, and SMU damn near lost. Like, Nevada should have won that game, but it was a bad week betting for me. I had the over in that game, and it did not hit. So Montana State was the only glimmer of hope that I had, and unfortunately, it wasn't a single bet. It was a leg of a parlay. So yeah, not a good week 0 for me.
It was a kind of a crazy week 0. No one expected Georgia Tech to pull out that win. Everybody kind of expected New Mexico to come in against Montana State and dominate. Montana State came down I-25 and they took the fight to them and they beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got to go back because now I'm blanking on the team name.
Oh, what was the other? It was Hawaii and Delaware State.
Hawaii and Delaware, and somehow Delaware was not even. It was supposed to be a lot closer than it was. Because Hawaii's not a good team, and Hawaii shocked them. I mean, they took them down.
Yeah. Still, the over did not hit, and that was like, Hawaii is usually good for an over. You don't pick Hawaii to win, but they put up a lot of points.
They do their great offense.
So yeah, like I said, Montana State was the only redeeming part of any of the parlay that I had.
So you bet on that to take down SMU?
SMU, they won, but just barely.
So you had them beating Nevada by more.
I had the over in that game, and it was it almost hit. I mean, it was like 6 points away or something like that. But I expected SMU to put up 40 points on their own, and they almost lost that game.
Yeah, there were a lot of upset, like 2 big upsets. SMU would have been the next one because SMU is kind of a dark horse in the ACC playoff, ACC picture. If you're looking at, teams that have a chance now, especially since Florida State lost, SMU's right up there with Clemson and NC State.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they're alive. Don't get me wrong. They, a win's a win, but they should have lost that game. All right, so going down the top 25, we got Texas at 4. Is Texas for real?
I think Texas is for real. Outside of Xavier Worthy, they really retained a lot of their guys, and they brought in a good bit on the transfer portal. They recruited well. They didn't lose too much in the transfer portal. And Quinn Ewers is legitimately a good quarterback. It took him a little to kind of figure it out. But good.
Well, and even if he's a bust, he's got Arch Manning behind him, and that guy seems like he's a stud too. So
Manning's a great quarterback. So if Quinn Ewers gets hurt or starts having a kind of a bad or worse year, they got someone who's talented and who's been developing right behind him to come in and fill that gap. I think Texas, if Georgia doesn't win, I don't think it should be anybody but Texas being seen as the favorite to win the SEC. I think
See, I view Texas just like I view the Dallas Cowboys. Like I just don't. I haven't taken them seriously in a long time. Like I know they're going to be good, but I know they're not a real contender.
Well, they were real enough to make it to the playoff and put up a fight last year against Washington.
That's true. So I mean, we'll see. I just, man, Texas they haven't been good in a while, and I find them hard to take seriously. They're kind of like Notre Dame. Like they were good once upon a time, but what have you done for me lately? Alabama is an interesting one. Are they going to be good? What's the situation in Alabama?
So Kalen DeBoer, he was the head coach at Washington last year. He's the one who took them to the national championship game. He's a good head coach. He inherited a pretty decent roster, and then Lane Kiffin and the rest of the SEC and the Big Ten gutted it. He had to work to rebuild that in the transfer portal and with offseason recruiting. I don't think Alabama is going to finish as the third best team in the SEC. I think Alabama is a 9-3 team.
Are we back to like late 90s Alabama?
I wouldn't say we're that far back yet. I would say we're in one of the in-between years for Saban, when it would be kind of an off year. He'd still have big wins. He'd still be in the picture.
This would be a Les Miles year rather than a Nick Saban year, you think?
I think it might be more of a Les Miles year. They're going to be good. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They always are. They've got the developmental program already in place. A lot of their coaching, a lot of the staff is the same, a lot of carryover between coaches. I just don't think they're going to have the handle on teams like Texas or Georgia, Ole Miss.
See, that's kind of where I'm at. I find it hard to believe that they're going to fall way off, but I don't think they're in the same category as Georgia right now.
I think
we'll see how that coach does. Like, if he's good, if he's as good as advertised, then put up there in the top 4. But if not, I don't know. Make the playoff maybe, but I don't know. I'm gonna withhold judgment on Bama until I see what they can do.
Yeah, they start the season, I'm pretty sure, pretty easily.
They always do. I hate tune-up. That's one of the things I hate about college football the most is the best teams start the season with like the Citadel or some shit like that.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, play a real fucking college. But I mean, on the flip side, CSU is playing Texas. And CSU is getting big money to get their ass beat. So
Wyoming went down to Austin last year, and they held Texas.
That's right.
For 3/4 of football before Quinn Ewers locked it up. So I mean, I hate CSU. I'm sorry, but CSU's got a pretty good chance to do something special and knock off one of the top 4 teams in the country.
They're not a good team, but they're gritty. I'll give them that. And a game, particularly a game against like Texas, or I think they held Michigan fairly decent for like a half of football. Like you got to be kind of gritty to do shit like that. And yeah, I'll agree with that. Like CSU is nothing to write home about, but they can reach down deep and make somebody work for it, for sure. They showed that with Colorado last year. They showed it with Texas last year. And they didn't get the win, but you're like, they made them work. They made them work.
Play them out. Mountain West teams aren't teams that usually get invited to play big market schools. Wyoming and CSU were kind of the most recent, and usually it's 1 or 2. Usually it's honestly Hawaii.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
Mountain West teams are known that you don't want to play a Mountain West team.
Well, nobody wants to play somebody like Air Force. Nobody wants to play Air Force.
Air Force finds ways to win that don't make sense.
Well, and they play old school football. They run the triple option, which people don't really pay much attention to. And if you're not disciplined, Air Force can put up a lot of points on you.
Yeah. That's what I mean. The Wyoming Air Force game, we were both coming in on the cusp of being ranked. We were both 6-0.
Yeah, I remember that. I watched part of that game.
I don't know. It pissed me off because Wyoming finished the season pretty strong, and Air Force finished.
Air Force fell off at the end, but
it's like you got teams like in the Mountain West and even in the MAC with some of these smaller market but big state schools. That can really fight for it. You saw it with like UCF back when they were I think UCF was in the Sun Belt or Conference USA.
Yeah.
You saw it with Appalachian State in the Sun Belt.
Troy back in the day was same way. Like they weren't ever going to be like a top 10 team, but they'd be like a top 15.
Yeah. Tulane is a good example of how that works right now.
And then but they're not quite big enough name players to sit out bowl games, so they go ahead and win bowl games too.
They stack up bowl game wins.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ole Miss, you talked about them. You got them.
I've got they're my dark horse favorite. I'm not going to say outright they're going to win it all, but if there's any team on this top 10 right here that we're showing that has the best chance of knocking off the Blue Bloods, I say it's Ole Miss. Going back to Alabama.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that necessarily. I'm a kind of an anti-Lane Kiffin guy. I think he's kind of a flash in the pan. He makes a splash, but doesn't really win the big games.
Well, I'd agree. I mean, we've had outside. I'd like to take Alabama and Georgia games off the table. And Lane Kiffin has come up big in big game situations outside of 2022, where we had a really awful end of the year. We ended up 8-4. He's gone 10-2 in two separate seasons, 11-2 last year with the bowl win, which is Ole Miss's best record in Ole Miss history. I think, honestly, I think he might have been a flash in the pan in the past. I don't disagree with that, but I think he's really been able to stay at Ole Miss and build a solid program.
Like I said, I don't disagree with that, but I feel like Lane Kiffin is a lot like Donald Trump in 2020. Like he won North Carolina, but he lost Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
and Pennsylvania is the one that he really needed to win. Ole Miss they're always feisty, for sure. Especially in the SEC. SEC is tough. God, it's tough. And Ole Miss is always pretty feisty. Lane Kiffin can put up a lot of points.
It's the defense. If we have a good defense on paper this year, and if the defense holds up, I don't think Ole Miss is going to be discounted.
All right, so you went to Ole Miss, right?
I did.
Tell me this: is the rumor true about the most beautiful women on earth going to Ole Miss?
Yeah. It's kind of wild, but it is very true.
I've heard that a lot about SEC schools in general, but particularly Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And
so classy too. Ole Miss it doesn't feel like, you wouldn't think it's a classy school, but it's pretty classy.
Yeah, the South is weird like that.
But no, Ole Miss, you'd be surprised at how classy it is.
I've heard that. And I know the further south you go, like you almost have to be in a frat to experience the social life. Like the Southern universities are big on their Greek life.
It really is. And it's I didn't join a frat. I didn't have the money. It's expensive. When I was a freshman at Wyoming, I was going to join AGR, but dues were $700 a year. I can. Have,
I was the same way as CSU. They recruited me, and I was like, so I got to pay to be a part, and then I got to pay to be at the house. I got to pay to live there. Can I just come to your parties? And they're like, oh yeah, everybody's welcome at the parties. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just have friends at AGR.
Exactly, that's exactly what I did. I hung out at the house because I had friends there, but I couldn't afford to be a part of it. I went down to Ole Miss and I looked at rushing, and it was going to cost me $14,000.
Holy fuck, yeah.
$700 to be a member of AGR suddenly seemed a lot cheaper, a lot more reasonable.
No wonder they all wear boat shoes. That's all they can afford.
Although if you ever go walking around the square, you'd think that everybody there was daddy's money. I think it's a lot just to show.
I wouldn't be surprised. I bet it's a lot like farmers. Like the ones you think are actually really rich. When you look into their books, like, oh no, everything is owned by the bank. They don't own shit.
Yeah. No, it's the guy who's had the same tractor for 75 years. And
it's actually turned into profit. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of sometimes works. Other times you got to punch it a few times to get it really going. Those are the ones who smart with the money.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Football wise, I think Ole Miss is not like that. I don't think Ole Miss is a big flashy money school like some of these other, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State type teams.
Well, even like Southern Miss. Southern Miss will go spend a bunch of money and get a flashy name, but I mean, like they had Dak Prescott back in the day.
Yeah, before.
Or I guess that was Mississippi State. Sorry,
State. Yeah,
but yeah, like those schools aren't afraid to spend a little bit of money to draw some sort of attention. They know they ain't gonna win shit, but they can put a few more butts in the seats. They ain't opposed to it. How about Notre Dame? Are they for real?
So Notre Dame starts off against the number 20 Texas A&M, and I think that's going to be a big telling game because you've got a Texas A&M team who was ranked last year to start the season and then completely imploded. They paid their head coach $70
They sucked so bad last year,
and now they're coming back ranked. Mike Elko is a good coach over at A&M, but I don't think A&M deserves to be ranked right now. I get it; it's all on paper, but last season's results have to play a pretty big role. And so,
Texas A&M always starts out highly ranked because they always have a great recruiting class, but I mean, other than like Johnny Manziel, when have they been relevant?
I mean, honestly, not in the past 5 years.
No, I mean, they're always highly ranked at the beginning of the year, but they got to hustle to make the top 25 at the end of the year, and they're just, for the talent that they always get, they don't produce.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Mike Elko changes that culture. I thought Jimbo Fisher was a good head coach before he started destroying A&M.
Yeah,
but they're the team to beat right now. They're a team to take seriously for right now. But I think Notre Dame is going to go into that game, and they're either going to smoke A&M or it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a toss-up. But I don't think Texas A&M has it in them right now to take down a seventh ranked Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's going to have a good run game, solid defense,
and they've got a really good quarterback.
Okay, I don't know about their quarterback. I know their head coach is a Notre Dame alumni, which is probably good for them. Long term, because like he knows Notre Dame, he knows the culture, and he'll be able to get the type of guys that are Notre Dame type guys. Like Notre Dame, I don't know. They're another one of those teams where you got to take them serious when you play them, but I don't ever take them serious as a as like a title contender.
No, I agree. They've got Riley Leonard at quarterback. He came over from Duke, and he kind of he brought the Blue Devils into relevance.
That's right.
In terms
That's right. He was a stud.
He's a stud, and they lost their they had a pretty highly ranked quarterback, highly rated quarterback, and he decided he wanted to play lacrosse, and he didn't. He was one of the better ranked quarterbacks. He was like, "Hey, I don't love this anymore. I'd rather play lacrosse."
So that guy's gonna be a lawyer. Yeah. is the end of that story.
But I think Texas A&M is going to put up a fight. They're playing at home. Notre Dame's having to go in to College Station, which is a stupid name for a town. Stupid. I got a lot of beef with the ag schools. I think maybe it's just because I think this ag school is the best ag school. But my dad went to Texas, so I grew up. My dad isn't a big rivalry guy, but I am. So I grew up having to do the rivalry for the two of us.
You didn't care, but you were mad enough for both of them.
Yeah, exactly. My dad went to Texas and Boulder, so I hated A&M and CSU growing up.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked out. But A&M always plays tough at home. It doesn't matter if they're having a season where they're fighting for a bowl spot or they're top 10 in the nation.
Well, and that's a massive stadium, and they sell out every week.
Insane. I spent some time in Texas. I was cowboying down in outside of Georgetown and Weir, and so many folks that I knew went to A&M. They're like, it's crazy. The people they take their cheers so seriously that it's like considered a point of honor. I've got my grandmother's brother, who I was working for. His son was one of the yell leaders down at A&M, and it was like the biggest point of pride if your kid was a yell leader at A&M.
Oh yeah, well, George W. was a yell leader.
Oh yeah, it's like Penn State. It's arguably top 5, top 3 hardest stadiums to play in.
Yeah, it's kind of like Oregon. I mean, it's Oregon or Florida or how about fuck even Tennessee. Like
I went to the Ole Miss Tennessee game in Knoxville in 2021. That was insane.
That's 100,000 people screaming Rocky Top. I mean, it
was intimidating. And then Ole Miss won, and they threw a golf ball at Kiffin's head. I've been to so many college football games. I've been to NC State games. I've been to North Carolina games. I've been to Tennessee games, Ole Miss games, Wyoming games, and no one has ever tried to start more fights with me because of the color shirt I was wearing. I thought I was walking through the south side of Chicago.
See, that's why I'm not a CU fan. I grew up a CU fan because that's who we saw on TV. And then I went to the first the first Mile High showdown was in Boulder that I went to, and they sucked. And then when they had it at Mile High, every time we walked through their parking lot, we had full beers thrown at our head. Like, it wasn't like, here, have a beer, fucking douchebag. No, it was a beer, like a full beer chucked at your head. And I was like, these guys are fucking animals. Fuck CU.
It's disappointing. I think CU wants to be an SEC school. They want to have the Greek culture of the South and the party culture of the West Coast. Those two things don't mix, but they want to be so bad. They're wannabes. I have so many friends who went up to
and they're never other than the early 90s, they were never good enough either.
No, and it just became known as a party school, just like Arizona State. But Arizona State, they're the party. You know, Ole Miss's slogan is they've never lost a party. ASU's right up there with them. But
but ASU has no fantasies about winning a national championship ever.
They'd be excited if they. I watched some ASU guys like, I'd be excited this year if we just beat Wyoming. they might be the toughest team on our schedule. We have a chance at beating, and I'd be happy if we beat them.
So is Arizona State in the Mountain West now?
No, so Arizona State's in the Big 12. They finished last year at 3-9, but they brought.
It's a good place for Arizona State though. Like they're known for putting up a lot of points. Is Arizona in the Big 12 too?
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, I think
that makes sense because those are schools that are known for putting up a lot of points and not playing any defense, and that's kind of what the Big 12 is known for. K-State's gonna be a problem for a lot of people this year.
I am so hyped up on Kansas State. They lost their quarterback to Ohio State, but
the guy that's taking over is supposed to be better, right?
It's better than he is. On all the game film that I've seen of Avery Johnson coming in to replace Will Howard.
Yeah,
Avery Johnson played better, and Avery Johnson is a solid quarterback. I think Kansas State's biggest team in their way this year is Utah. I don't see any. Yeah, for sure. Unless Colorado State or Colorado somehow pulls it together, which I don't see happening. I think Colorado is going to finish with at best an 8-4 record.
Don't write off Iowa State because they may win 3 games, but they could play spoiler for Kansas State pretty easy.
Spoiler for K-State. K-State's biggest, I think the biggest in terms of a CSP berth is Utah, or at least the conference championship is Utah. But in terms of
Utah's a great team.
It's because you got teams like or players like Cam Rising, who's Utah's quarterback. He's one of the best in the nation. But if you're looking at teams to really make a jump to be in that top 10 conversation and stay there, I say Kansas State's your best bet for the Big 12.
Kansas State, they're solid. The Big 12 is not a real conference, but God, there's a lot of real competition within that conference.
It really is. I think the Big 12 and ACC are pretty similar, where you've got, even the ACC is probably, I'd rank them higher, and I think ACC is a garbage conference. But, especially since the Big 12 lost Texas and Oklahoma, which also, if we want to talk about conference realignment, sucks. Oklahoma didn't even schedule Oklahoma State this year.
I know. And
it makes sense.
Yeah, the Bedlam. You're gonna get rid of Bedlam. It was the same way when Nebraska went to the Big Ten and Colorado went to the Pac-12. Like that's one of the biggest rivalry games in all of football, and you just like gutted it. Just like no, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I do have a solution though for Oklahoma State fans. We just get to see which pokes are the best. Whose Pistol Pete is the real Pistol Pete?
Oh fuck yeah! You are all you're going full delusional on Wyoming this year.
Wyoming's going to take me all the way. All right, I've got Wyoming all the way. No, but I think it'd be a fun cross state rivalry. Every year we play Oklahoma State, figure out which Cowboys are better.
It's not a bad. I've thought a lot about this because mostly I've seen CSU when they were okay, they were making bowl games, but bowl games are garbage nowadays. Like they're before the playoff was ever a thing, there were way too many bowl games. Way too many.
It's a bad idea. I think it's a fun postseason thing.
Yeah.
Before the playoff, bowl games didn't make much sense to me. You had playing the BS Bowl, and that was really the only one that had any merit.
Yeah, well, they're watered down. They don't mean shit. I mean, like my senior year, CSU played in the inaugural New Mexico Bowl in lovely fucking Albuquerque. You're like,
nice. They have a balloon festival.
Why do you have a bowl game?
No,
It's only because it was only to put the Mountain West and the West Coast Conference, or the WAC at the time.
Yeah, it was Mountain West and WAC, and
yeah,
then it was Mountain West versus the rest of the group of 5.
Yeah,
So,
and so but the New Mexico Bowl did not need to exist.
No,
and so like, even though CSU, they made it and they won, it was great. But like that bowl didn't need to exist. Like, CSU probably shouldn't have made a bowl game that year. And it just so now like with the playoffs, like what is the advantage of playing in a bowl game at all? Like, there is none.
money. I think that for smaller schools, especially Mountain West and group of 5 schools, the biggest draw for those bowl games is the money. You know, you had like and it's I don't know. I think that they now with the playoff, they need to make it like a 7-win. You had to get 7 wins to make a bowl.
Yeah, like at least a winning record.
Yeah,
6 because that's what it used to be with winning record. You had to be above 500, and then it turned to you only had to have a 500 record. And it's kind of like expanding the playoffs, and you're like, well, okay, but they weren't that good in the regular season.
Yeah,
and I'm almost at the point with CSU where like I would rather they move down to FCS and play North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Like, they're still gonna they might dominate one year, maybe, but honestly, like, it's kind of iffy. Like, if you take say CSU, a team like Wyoming, teams that are never actually going to be in the real playoff picture.
Well, that's
Wyoming might be, but all right, let's say like Wyoming's not winning a natty ever.
Those are fun. I'm gonna drive over to Nevada after this.
but they could win an FCS.
I agree. Wyoming, if Wyoming got put in FCS, if they got down to D1 or whatever, B or whatever,
D1 AA or whatever the fuck that is,
they would take down everybody they played against. The toughest competition would be North Dakota State, and I don't think North Dakota State holds a candle to a Wyoming team or even a new team.
No, see, historically, I think. I think it'd be close. I think Wyoming would win, would be pretty dominant. I think CSU would be pretty dominant, but I like that rivalry because in the grand scheme of things, like, a Mountain West team is not going to compete with the SEC of the Big Ten.
Well, according to my college football 25 by EA Sports dynasty that I made, undefeated for the next several seasons until I get bored.
Fair enough. You know, like that's a good predictor, honestly.
It really is. They've got Nevada this year. All the simulations that EA has put out, they've got Nevada as a pretty decent team.
I mean, they played pretty good against SMU. They lost, but they should have won that game.
I really think they should have, and I think it would have been a good showing for the Mountain West to go out there and beat an ACC school.
Well, I will say, so like Washington State and Oregon State are playing with. They're kind of doing the
Notre Dame thing.
Yeah, so like they're still the Pac-12, but they're like the Bernie Sanders of college football. They're an independent, but they're caucusing with the Mountain West.
Yes.
I think that's a good thing for the Mountain West, though. Like Oregon State's they're not a title contender every year, but they're a spoiler every fucking year.
Oh yeah, they're
a good spoiler. Washington State every year, every now and then they're pretty good.
Points, and especially against teams like Washington, their rivalry games, they put up points.
Yeah. And like Oregon State is a notorious place to go play at. Like if you got to go into Corvallis, like that's a spooky place to play. It's kind of like Reno with UNR. Like the Reno, like Nevada doesn't typically have a good team, but Reno's a spooky place to play.
Oh yeah.
And so I maybe that it doesn't hurt the Mountain West to have Oregon State in the picture.
No.
Oregon State's always pretty decent. We got way off track here. A
little bit.
And that's fine. I'm good with it. Notre Dame, we'll see. Notre Dame's another one of those teams I have a hard time taking serious. Like they're going to be good,
but how as far is good.
Yeah, but as far as like in the title picture, I don't take them that serious. Like they might be a spoiler. They'll be in the playoff. Are they the 7th team in the country? No, I think they're more like the 12. And even then, they're probably more like the 15 or 16 team, but they get a lot of media bump, and so they'll probably end up in the playoff.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame could probably finish with a 10-2 record. I don't think they're going to compete for an ACC championship. I think they're going to lose to Clemson and North Carolina. Or I guess they don't get to compete because they're in the ACC for all intents and purposes.
But they don't get the title.
They're not in the ACC, but they're in the ACC for every other sport.
Yeah.
Football, they stayed independent. So I think they could finish 10-2 with losses to NC State and Clemson and make the playoff. They could probably squeak in at, 11 or maybe even 10 at best.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've got what it takes to beat Clemson. And I think Clemson, ACC doesn't have a single person ranked until you get to number 10. And they just lost to Georgia Tech. So ACC does not have a top 15 school, in my opinion. Clemson's going to make it in. They're going to be top seeded because they're going to be, the ACC champion. I don't see anybody in their way except for NC State, and really it's not that much in their way.
All right, so here's a question for you. Who's better, ACC or Big 12?
Honest answer right now, I would say the ACC. ACC picked up some big hitters with USC and with some of these guys who are I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense for the ACC because ACC's looking right now. They've got SMU, they've got Clemson, they've got Cal, they've got Stanford, who plays spoiler. I mean, Stanford came back from being down 28-0. Yeah,
they're unless they get another Andrew Luck, they're not gonna be a title contender, but
they're gonna play spoiler.
They're like an Iowa State. Exactly. They're always gonna be tough.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Looking at on paper, I'd say the ACC is tougher, but in terms of teams that might actually compete for something, I'd say you've got more of a chance in the Big 12. You got Utah, K-State, even Iowa State, Oklahoma State, who's ranked right now. I mean,
yeah, because if we go down, Penn State's they're gonna be tough. They got an awesome defense. They're not gonna win the Big Ten.
No.
They're going to be a lower seed in the. That's another thing is the playoff is going to be a different deal. If Penn State makes it in, that defense is tough. They could squeak out a win or two and maybe compete for a national championship. Michigan's kind of the same way.
I just don't see Michigan making it a deep run. Michigan's not the same team they were last year. They got gutted.
Well, and they got all the controversy.
Yeah, all the and stuff are under investigation. Who knows how long we're going to even have it? Michigan.
Yeah. Florida State is obviously out of that top 10 spot. They shit the bed in Dublin.
And drop down to the at best 22, 23.
Missouri is interesting.
I like Mizzou.
They're pretty good. The SEC, if there's a down year for the SEC, this is kind of it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I'd argue that it's an up year. Outside of Alabama struggling, you've got teams like Texas and Oklahoma coming in.
That's true.
You've got Mizzou, who finished last season at 10-2 and had huge wins against Tennessee and against K-State last year. They've got a really good team. They returned their core skill positions. They kept their coach. I think Mizzou is, if it's not Georgia and Texas competing for the title, I'd argue it's Ole Miss and Mizzou.
All right, so let me rephrase that. It's not a down year for the SEC, but it's more of a muddled picture as who's going to win the SEC. I think Georgia's still the clear favorite. Bama, we'll see. Bama's a big question mark because I won't be surprised if they win it, but also I won't be that surprised if they're like a 4-loss team.
Yeah.
Mizzou is interesting because they were good last year. They didn't lose a ton, and yeah, like I said, the SEC's kind of more open for a different winner this year.
I think so. There's a chance for it not being Georgia.
I mean, it's not likely because Georgia's Georgia. They're the new Bama.
They really are.
But Mizzou's really salty.
Yeah.
I could see them winning it. I don't think it'll happen, but I won't be surprised if they do end up in the SEC championship.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Utah. Honestly, Utah's probably gonna, if they don't win the Big 12, they should have. Utah's a pretty goddamn good team.
I agree, and it's weird that they're the highest ranked Big 12 team.
That is weird. I would have thought K-State would have been up there.
I would argue that K-State should be ranked above Utah, but I'm pretty sure Utah beat K-State in the regular season last year, something or other. But
not by much, though. I guarantee you that.
It was a close game. But I think Utah, if we're looking at a playoff predictor, I would argue that Utah is my number 4 seed. I think Utah goes in there at 13-0.
Not a bad guess. Utah's sneaky good. We'll see. Like Big 12 is not they're not as good of a conference, but Utah's always solid. And yeah, those Mormons stick together. So if they're there for 1 year, they're there for the whole time.
They're there for the whole time. Well, they got 5 kids by the time they graduate in 4 years.
Well, yeah, they got to make the NFL. Otherwise, they're going to go broke.
Well, yeah. It's LSU at 13 is interesting to me. They finished last year at 9-3. I would have ranked Oklahoma above LSU and above Tennessee. But Oklahoma did lose Dylan Gabriel. There are some questions about, their starting quarterback.
I heard the guy they got is pretty fucking salty though.
He's good. He's good, but he's not as tested as Dylan Gabriel is.
Oklahoma's always going to be pretty good. Now they're in the SEC. Like Oklahoma's always had money to throw around. Oklahoma don't have shit except OU.
22 decades. I think Oklahoma's has the winningest record in the past 20 years in college football.
They don't necessarily win a national championship, but they're always in the picture. They're going to be tough. So here's a question. LSU, if they would have had a decent, even a mediocre defense last year, they would have hands down won the national championship. That offense was
pretty
incredible.
It was.
I drafted Jaden Daniels in my fantasy league. I think he's going to be okay.
I think he's going to be good. He was good at ASU. He was at ASU when ASU was a decent team. He's going to be good in the pros. Ole Miss beat him last year by luck. But if LSU had a good defense, they would have taken down Bama. They would have taken down Georgia. They would have taken out Ole Miss. And those were their 3 losses. Or it's not Georgia, Mizzou. Those were their 3 losses. I think LSU has a chance to bounce back, but it's a rebuilding year. You know, a lot of
I don't know. I don't know what they have, and that's part of me not paying as much attention to college football. But LSU can recruit their fucking ass off. It doesn't matter who the coach is. They're gonna have receivers. They're gonna have defense. Well, last year they didn't, but usually they have defense and they got wide receivers.
Yeah, they're going to be a threat, I think. I don't think they're going to be as good as Ole Miss and Missouri behind Texas and Georgia, but I think they're a good lock to be number 5. I don't think they're –
Don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them.
Clemson is ranked low.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Clemson is probably closer to a top – I think they should have flipped Florida State and Clemson.
Okay.
With who Florida State brought back and who Clemson brought back, I don't think Florida State is a better team than Clemson on paper or in real time.
All right, so Clemson is an interesting case because Dabo Swinney is not doing the transfer portal. He's not doing he's not paying his players. He's like, no, we're playing old school college football.
Yeah.
Does that still work?
I think Clemson has the most playoff appearances of any team outside of Alabama and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The most, and that's all the four-team playoffs.
They're one of the most recognizable teams in the country. Like,
I agree, and I think
it doesn't matter where you go, somebody's a Clemson fan.
Exactly, and I think in Clemson, South Carolina, I think that there's a market for players who are there to play football and they're to go to school, and they're not there to get paid. Clemson doesn't want to be the Boulder or the USC or the
Bama.
Yeah, where these players are going there because they know that's where they're going to make money. I mean, there's players right now in college making $7 million a year playing.
That's stupid.
You've got Shadur.
Power to you. Power to you. Don't get me wrong, but that's stupid. God, that's such a waste of money. Unless that guy really hits it big, that's such a waste of money.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think there should be a cap. I don't think players making $1,000 a month is a bad idea.
No, and particularly in the old system where they couldn't even get a minimum wage job.
Yeah,
It's funny how shit works where like there's no happy medium. It's just like, all right, you can't pay these guys at all. So now they can make millions of dollars a year, and you're just like, well, how about a stipend?
The right thing and you did it wrong.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
They did the math right and got the wrong answer.
Clemson, they're in my category where, up until they won a championship here, like 10 years ago, I always put them in the category of they're a threat, but not a threat to win it. Then they became like a dominant force, and now shit's changed, and their coach is not buying into any of the new way of doing shit. So I'm gonna put a maybe on question mark maybe on Clemson. I won't be surprised if they're a top 5 team at the end of the year.
My little prediction, I've got them ranked number 3.
Okay.
I think that they are. I made a couple. I made one where Wyoming number 1 seed, but in a realistic one, I think they're number 3. I think they're going to have some quality wins. I don't think they're going in undefeated because they start off the year at Georgia.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing this year is you don't have to be undefeated.
No, you don't. You could be a 3-loss team. You could be a 3-loss Oregon or a 3-loss Alabama. Make the team. You could be the 3rd best team. It could be Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and then Ole Miss following it up. And Alabama's got 3 losses. They're going to make it in. Ole Miss got 3 losses. They probably won't. But Alabama made it in last year, and Georgia didn't, even though Georgia should have been. I think Georgia should have been in instead of Florida State, but they had the conference champion. Yes. I don't think Florida State or I don't know. I just think that it's going to be interesting. You saw a Georgia team whoop Florida State team who was undefeated, who was arguing for their place in the playoff. I don't think Florida State held a candle to Washington, Alabama, Texas, or Michigan, and they certainly didn't.
I don't think so either.
To Georgia, I think it's going to be interesting to see which teams squeak in. I can see a 3-loss Clemson winning the if the ACC has a down year or a tough year in terms of games. I see a 3-loss Clemson making it, and there is a conference champ. But I don't think the top ranked. I think if in a world where Boise State runs the table in the conference, or Wyoming does, or UNLV does, kind of the perennial top contenders, or Fresno State, and they come out with a 1-loss, 2-loss season with some big wins. I mean, hell, CSU, if they start off the season right and they take down number 4 Texas, and they, for some miraculous reason, with whatever y'all's quarterback's name is.
I love the condescension here, but
no, I've been trying to remember his name. He's a good quarterback, and he's a genuinely talented dude. And I think that if Colorado State has the best chance right now of, if they were to run it all, to be ranked higher than Clemson does, because if they have a top 5 win, that's not a top 25 win. They have a top 5 win.
Yeah.
Boise State, I don't think, is ranked, but they always end up being ranked. And
and if they beat Texas early, Texas could be in the top 5 at the end of the year still.
Yeah. They could still run the table in the SEC. They could go 11-1 and go 12-1 with winning the SEC title, and they're in.
Yeah, and then, like, if Clemson gets in the playoffs, just going off the historical shit with Clemson, I like their odds. I mean, they historically they have a great defense. Historically, they have big playmakers, and they usually have a solid run game. So if they get in, I mean that's a good strategy for success in a playoff type situation.
Or if Clemson runs the table for the rest of the year, their 1 loss is to the number 1 team in the country.
There you go.
There could be questions, but even if Georgia beats them by, if Georgia beats them by 2 scores or less, that's going to be seen as they're going to still have a chance. If Georgia blows them out the way Georgia blew out FSU, Clemson's not going to be looked at as a real contender unless NC State or Florida State can come out, make it back up in the polls, or even Georgia Tech makes a run. Georgia Tech is a decent team usually. They just dominated
Florida State. So
yeah, they took down one of the best on-paper offenses in the country. They held them to 24 points.
Neutral site across the ocean. I mean, what more of
marquee win can you ask for?
Not a whole lot, honestly. I mean, like Florida State can always say I was always in Dublin. I'm like, okay, but Georgia Tech was in Dublin too, and they beat you.
They beat you, and they beat you soundly.
Yeah, and football terms, they beat you in the trenches.
Yeah, like it wasn't a blowout win by any means. Georgia Tech had to fight for it, but they fought harder than Florida State did.
Right. But where did Georgia Tech win was offensive line and defensive line. And that's what wins you the big games.
They kept their quarterback off the ground and they put Florida State's on the ground. I watched that game. It was tough to watch for Florida State fans because their quarterback couldn't get a throw off because he was getting pressure in his face.
It was tough to watch for me because I bet Florida State. I don't give two shits about Florida State, but I bet them and I lost. I think good thing though. I only bet like $2 on that. So
I'm not allowed to bet because I'll only bet on Wyoming, and I'm never.
You're such a homer.
Right.
All right, so let's so 15. We'll go 15 to 25. We can run through them pretty quick. Hopefully, maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. But Tennessee, I don't know. Tennessee's always like a wild card. Are they going to be in the Natty? No, I don't see that.
They're making the playoff, but I think they can play spoiler to a team like Bama, or even I don't think they play Ole Miss, but
I could see them finishing above where they're at now.
I agree. I think that's completely reasonable.
But I could also see them with 6 losses.
You know, Tennessee. If I go and I pull up their hang on, I gotta go back and find it. So they start out the year every year at Chattanooga, and it's one of those tune-up games, but it's a 30-minute away rivalry. You know, it's a tune-up game, but it's their next.
Well, and Chattanooga's got like pretty decent here lately too. Yeah. So like they're not a great team, but also it's not a huge shock if they beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's not a surprise at all if they give them a run.
No.
Like Tennessee, it's good for college football when Tennessee's good, but I don't know if I buy number 15.
Their quarterback, though, is in the Heisman watch already. He's a preseason Heisman contender. Ian Leva, I don't know, Ilialova or something like that. But Tennessee has a pretty tough start to the season. They start off against Chattanooga, and then they play 24 NC State. Then they got Kent State, and then they're playing a 16th ranked Oklahoma. And then they've got Alabama in October, and then they've got Georgia in November. So in terms of if Tennessee has a good season, Tennessee's in the playoff.
Yeah.
If Tennessee's only losses are coming against Georgia, I mean, Tennessee's beaten Alabama in the past. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. And where's that game at? Is it in
Alabama?
Tuscaloosa?
Alabama is in Knoxville.
Okay, so like that also a spooky place to play.
It is a spooky place to play.
Particularly if Tennessee's even kind of good. Like if they have any sort of glimmer of hope, Knoxville's it's a spooky place to play. That's a big stadium.
It is. It's loud and the students are insane.
And it's on the river too. So like I mean it's University of Tennessee's any of you young fellas that are looking for a cool place to go to school like that, take a look at Tennessee. That's a pretty cool school.
Cool school. There's good stuff to do. It's right by the Appalachian Mountains.
Well, and you're also a perennial like blue blood of the SEC, so you're gonna have some good talent all the way around. Football, women, doesn't matter.
No, doesn't. But Tennessee is one of the harder strength of schedules. If you go and look up their strength of schedule, I think they're ranked pretty high, but now I'm not fine. I had it pulled up and it reset my page. I wish I could do your thing and just share my screen.
I think you can actually. I'll pull mine down. Do you have a share screen option on yours?
I do. Let's see. Well, now I'm not. Present. No, that's not it. It does not look like I do.
Okay.
I had it earlier, but it does not look like it is still there. But I guess Tennessee's not as tough of a schedule rank as I thought, okay, so it's saying Tennessee's strength of schedule is ranked at 52. But Tennessee, on the schedule as it stands right now, they have 4. Okay, so they got 4 ranked games. Now, Mississippi State could make another run. They've got a decent quarterback down south in I don't even know what town they're in anymore.
Well, and then you might have a Kentucky or
Florida. Kentucky has been ranked. They didn't finish the season so strong, but they're not a bad program. And Kentucky could easily, after the first 5 games, be ranked. And then you've got 5 games against ranked teams.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's got an underrated strength of schedule because Florida and Arkansas and Kentucky aren't ranked. But those are teams that have been ranked in the past 3 years that have been good teams.
Yeah,
so,
well, and it's the SEC, so like they try to be good.
Yes.
Like that's other than Vanderbilt. Other than Vanderbilt, they like the SEC tries to be good, and that shows. Like you were talking about with Kentucky, like they've been pretty salty here lately. Arkansas, don't sleep on them. They'll let you know by like week 3 if they're worth a fuck. But those first 3 weeks are they're pretty iffy.
Yeah, I think Tennessee has a chance to if they run the table. And if their quarterback Iamaleava, I might get it right. Nico Iamaleava.
Okay.
Iamaleava. But if he's as good as they think he is, I mean, he's 6'6", 215 pounds, but he's a freshman, so he's untested.
Oh, that's a big boy, though.
He's got the tangibles. We don't know if he has
does he move like all those other Samoans?
He does. He's a big guy. He's quick and he's strong. High school footage of him, he played kind of like a Cam Newton. So
okay.
And this is like prime Cam Newton, where he had the arm and he had the body and he moved.
Dude, when Cam Newton was in his prime, he was dangerous. Holy fuck, he was dangerous.
Yeah. He wasn't as fast as like Lamar Jackson, but he beat you just because he was stronger than you. It was like a Derrick Henry with an arm.
Yeah, that's tough. Because Cam Newton in his prime was like 265, and ran like a running back. Like that. That's stupid. Like if you're one of the defensive linemen, it's just like wrap up, fellas. Just make sure you get ankles, because you're probably not getting those legs.
No. I think Tennessee's got a chance, if they have a really good season, to do some damage in the SEC and potentially in the playoff.
Okay.
They've got talent. They've got a good coach. Josh Heupel is a really good coach. They've got a chance. I don't think they're on the same tier as Mizzou or Ole Miss, but they're close. And they're a good team. So with the strength of schedule that they have in terms of who they're playing, it could be really interesting to see them make a run. Oklahoma's kind of the same way, because Oklahoma just lost their quarterback, but Oklahoma has a pretty good chance of starting strong. Right now, their starting quarterback, if I had to guess, is going to be Casey Thompson. And he's done some good stuff. But he's a fifth-year quarterback. He started out at Texas, didn't play much, and then Quinn Ewers came in and kind of shut him out of the picture. And then he went to Nebraska, put up decent numbers, and then he sat. I think he got hurt last year at FAU down in Florida. But he's a decent quarterback, and Oklahoma always has a strong run game. And
they've got a decent defense, and Oklahoma knows how to put a team together. They always have something.
Right.
Like that. Like Oklahoma's never terrible. Like there's years where they don't perform like they're supposed to, but they're never bad.
No.
So
they took down Texas. They had a huge comeback win against Texas. I mean, they should be legitimate.
First year in the SEC, that might be a different story, but either way, I would flip-flop Tennessee and Oklahoma. Just given off of recent historical records, I'll take Oklahoma over Tennessee.
They've got more of a dynastic value to them, I think, than Tennessee does. Tennessee, they're a little bit more newcomers back to the being at the top.
Yeah. 17 Oklahoma State. I don't buy them at 17 at all.
They're a top 25 team. I don't think they're a top 17 team.
They might have a losing record, honestly.
I would be less than surprised if Oklahoma State finishes the season under 500.
Yeah, me neither. I don't buy them at 17. Kansas State, I could buy them as a top 10 team.
I agree. I think that they are an underrated team that I think people are kind of forgetting about.
Well, and also like home field advantage matters in college football, and Kansas State is a tough place to play. And they're a feisty team by historical records. But they've got some guys this year.
They've got a pretty good schedule. I mean, it's not an easy one, but it's pretty favorable. They've got they're playing a ranked Arizona, ranked Okie State, ranked Kansas, and potentially a ranked Iowa State by the end of the year. Ranked West Virginia. They're playing West Virginia in West Virginia. That's always a tough place to go in and play.
Yeah, West Virginia. It doesn't matter if they're a good team or not. It's a spooky place to play.
Aside from it being in the Appalachians, it's already spooky enough.
Yeah, exactly. Don't leave that stadium. You might get shot.
At night, you don't whistle at night after you leave that stadium, if you want or not.
Yeah. No, hey, I've got to piss real bad, so I'm going to pull this off screen, and we'll take a short recess and then come back and continue those thoughts on Kansas State, because I got some more on them.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Cool. All right, we're back.
All right.
Yeah, K-State. I mean, I'm a little bit of a homer because I have so many friends that went to K-State, and I tried not to like them just because of my friends. But the way the Big 12 has shaped up over the last couple of years, like I think K-State has done it the best. They've kind of stayed with their roots. They kept Bill Snyder around for fucking ever.
Yeah,
they've managed to somehow move away from him without like completely resetting their whole thing.
Yeah, they've kept their program integrity. They've kept the development the same. They've really kept a solid group in that office that's really continued that.
And they haven't turned off the K-State faithful, and the K-State faithful are really fucking faithful. Like, I don't know if you've ever met K-State fans, but they are diehards.
My brother went to K-State, so
dude, yeah, you know, I've got a bunch of friends that go to K-State, and they are, I mean, borderline delusional. But for
not
this
like
year,
fans. Not at all like us.
Yeah, exactly.
They're actually delusional.
But yeah, this year that delusion plays in. I think they're a top 10 team. I think they're getting snubbed at 18.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be top 5.
No, think it should be.
But I think top 10 is. I think that's adequate.
Them at 9.
All right. I like that. I like that.
9. I'd put them above Utah. I'd put them well above Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's going to be a team to fight. They're a tough team, but they are not.
They're not a good team.
Good team. They're a decent team, but they're not a number 17 in the country team.
No. Do I think K-State could beat Michigan
this year? Maybe.
Penn State.
Mm-mm.
If it's in Manhattan, probably.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, I think they could beat Notre Dame. Ole Miss, depends on the site.
It does. Vaught's a tough place. It's spooky in its own way.
Texas doesn't matter where it's at. K-State can beat Texas. They've shown that over the years consistently. They give Texas a lot of problems. Oregon, I don't know. No, I think 9 or 10's an excellent spot for K-State. Because I think they can beat pretty much everybody up to the top 3. Outside of that, I don't see him beating Georgia. I don't see him beating Ohio State, and I don't see him beating Oregon, but that'd be what I'd say that's their best bet is beating Oregon.
Yeah, I think they can hold their own against Oregon, I think.
I think so. I think they get curb stomped by Ohio State and Georgia.
I think it might be closer than you think with Ohio State. I think it'd be more of almost an Iowa-Nebraska game.
Oh, okay. Low scoring at that favors K-State for sure.
I think K-State might have it, but Ohio State, just like LSU, is wide receiver U. So unless Ohio State this year, they've kind of balanced it out because they brought in Quinshon Judkins. You know, they've got good running backs to balance out their wide receiver core. So
yeah,
even if
and they're always going to have a top 5 defense. Always. And this year, arguably top defense. So, but K-State's gritty. They always have been, and they always will be. So those close games, like, don't count them out. I think Ohio State at the end, like they K-State might keep it close for a minute, but yeah, I think Ohio State runs away with that in the end.
Kind of like the Wyoming-Texas game. We kept it close for a while, and then Then they took off and ran with it.
Yeah.
It was 2020 going into the third quarter, and then they put up 21 points.
Yeah.
When something like that just ended up beating us by 3 scores.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a K-State too.
But yeah, K-State's I think it's a top 10 team. And they've got them at 18. So I mean that's a good place for K-State. Start off low, keep a low profile, fly under the radar, and then put it on at the end. And I think K-State makes the playoff, honestly.
I think so too. I think if it's not Utah making it in automatically, it's K-State, and I think K-State's going to cause some chaos and make it in.
Yeah, I think Big 12. Oklahoma State's that's way overrated. I don't see them doing shit. Kansas is a dark horse.
Kansas has built up their program pretty strong.
Right. But I think it's either Kansas State or Utah to win the Mountain West, but throw Kansas in as a playoff team potentially.
They've got the potential. The issue, I think, with teams like Kansas and Arizona is depth.
Mm-hmm.
A&M, they might make a run just because they've got the depth.
Because they got a top 5 recruiting class every year. And that's not just the big name players. That's everybody that comes along with it. And so, yeah, they A&M's going to have depth until proven otherwise. I don't take them seriously, though. Miami's kind of the same way.
Miami did get Cam Ward.
I heard about that.
Very high quality quarterback.
That's true.
I'm excited to see how he does, but I still think Miami's like Texas and Dallas. They're back every year until they're not. That was the same. That's why Miami's ranked so low because they said they were back last year and they fell apart. ACC is
but you can never count them out either. That's the thing, is that they've always got talent. They're always a threat to knock somebody off. But they're not the U of old. No, they're a spoiler.
They are.
A&M's a spoiler. A&M could be like a legitimate title contender, or they could just be at number 20 team.
A&M could be a legitimate title contender if they were still in the Big 12.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They don't. They are the lowest ranked SEC team on here for a reason.
Yeah, well, and they just and they, outside of Alabama and Georgia, they probably have the highest ranked recruiting class.
I think they had number 1 recruiting class.
Wouldn't surprise me. Like they always get recruits, but they don't do shit to.
No.
Yeah, it's just they fizzle out. But that's another team that could end up in the top 5 if they perform to expectations, but nobody thinks they're going to.
No, I totally agree. They've got a tough schedule. Everybody in the SEC has a tough schedule, and I don't care what you tell me.
Yep.
The SEC is the toughest conference to play in right now.
Hands down, not even a close second.
Every team that's in the top 25 could be, on paper, a national contender.
Ohio State is one of the best teams in the country every year, but never is it a conversation as to whether the Big Ten is better than the SEC. Never. The SEC is the best conference, hands down. Not even a close second.
I'm curious to see how Arizona and Kansas do, though, because I think Arizona's going to do – they finished the season strong last year.
Was that the Herm Edwards team?
Yes.
and then he got pushed out, and he was like his players didn't like him or whatever. Yeah, I'm intrigued because Arizona every now and then they go on a little run. They're usually not known for their defense, maybe cornerbacks, but when they're good, they can put up a lot of points. They're kind of a classic Big 12 team. So Big 12's a great landing spot for them. We'll see. It's they're a dark horse for sure. Kansas, same way, but Kansas has been on the come up the last couple of years. So
they've been developing. They've had a few seasons in the past 5 years or so that they've been a really, really good team. And I think it's not inconceivable to see Kansas in the top 10. I mean, like, I'd be surprised a little bit, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see them lose 10 games either. No, it's entirely possible. They are a very flip-floppy team.
Yeah, so like they could be a top 10 team based off of the last couple of years and how they progressed, but it's Kansas, you know. They're a basketball school.
Yeah. Well, that's what they said about Kentucky.
Yeah, that's true. And Kentucky's been pretty solid here lately. So USC, I've not heard anything really good about USC. Are they going to be worth a fuck or not?
I'm not so sure. You know, I think that it's tough to look at USC and be like, oh, you guys are going to be contenders right away in the Big 12 or the ACC, excuse me.
No, they're Big 10, aren't they?
Are they? I think
they're Big 10.
Big 10. Am I missing them?
I'm pretty sure they're Big 10. Maybe.
I'm not seeing them. Why am I? Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong season. Yeah, Big 10. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're Big 10. I don't know. Looking at the
Big 10, they don't play Big 10 football. Like they're more of an offensive team,
and they have no defense. I mean, if you looked at
not at all.
Caleb Williams was the best one of the, if not the best quarterback, and had one of the best offenses, and he had absolutely zero help defensively.
Yeah.
He was putting up these crazy video game numbers because he had to, because his defense was allowing video game numbers.
It's kind of like Jaden Daniels at LSU last year, which was kind of an anomaly because LSU's known for a good defense. But instead they had the best offense ever in college with no defense.
And you can't really expect to win big games like that. And I don't think especially without a quarterback like Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley's a good coach, but he's an offensive coach. He needs to be, he needs to have a strong defensive coordinator, and I don't think he does.
USC has been a terrible spot for a coach since Pete Carroll left. So,
he's back. He's teaching at USC.
Oh, is he?
Now. So he's going to be like a consultant.
Shit.
Lincoln Riley said he wanted to use him. So there's a chance.
He probably should, because Pete Carroll was a great college football coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what USC is going to do, but the Big Ten just seems kind of like anti what USC is. Like Big Ten is big, slow, pound it down your throat type football, where USC is always like a flashy quarterback and big wide receivers.
Yeah. I don't think USC is going to stand a chance. I would not be surprised if they barely hit 6 wins.
Yeah, I'm not high on USC. Like, and not that they can't put talent on the field. They definitely can. But the Big Ten's a completely different conference than the Pac-12.
I think Big 12 would have been a better landing spot for him, especially the way Lincoln Riley head coaches. But
it would have been better for college football, I think, because you bring a big name like USC to not quite as big of a conference, it would have helped. But like I just USC seems like a bad fit in the Big Ten. You know,
I don't disagree at all.
It's just like it's the wrong style of football. Like I would love. Well, that's what made the Rose Bowl so good. It's like, all right, let's go see what the Big Ten versus the Pac-12 looks like. And it was kind of about 50-50, you know? Yeah. It was a good matchup. I don't like USC in the Big Ten. And that maybe that's the boomer in me. I just don't like it.
No, I don't think the style of play is going to be that much of a factor as much as this level of competition. USC struggled last season in a Pac-12 conference.
Yeah.
Struggled in the Pac-12. I don't think that the Pac-12 held a candle outside of Oregon and Washington to competing in the Big Ten. I think those are the only two teams. I don't even think Washington's on that level anymore now that they've lost Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix and Roma Dunze and all of their hitters.
Oh, Michael Penix is going to be terrible in the NFL too.
I don't know. I think he's going to be good.
You think so?
I think he will be. I think it's going to be kind of a Jordan Love situation.
Well, maybe.
To develop behind Kirk Cousins. Now, if Big Kirko gets hurt, you know, like
which is likely.
It is because he's like 39.
Coming off an Achilles.
But we'll see. You know, maybe him and Aaron Rodgers are going to be they're going to be the next Tom Brady and play until they're 45, like Brett Favre tried to do. You know,
I would love to see Aaron Rodgers play for a long time because that dude is a top 3 quarterback that I've ever seen play. I mean, he is really fucking good.
Well, he's won like 6 MVP awards. You don't get to win 6 MVP awards without being one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
No, like he had Peyton Manning type mental focus, but way better athletic ability. Way better. Like Peyton Manning could never scramble like Aaron Rodgers. He never had the arm strength like Aaron Rodgers.
No,
Aaron Rodgers can manipulate the line of scrimmage just like Peyton Manning could.
Yeah, I think I'd argue he's better than Tom Brady. He just hasn't had coaching. Tom Brady got lucky because of Bill Belichick. Yeah, they knew each other, and it was clear. I mean, Tom Brady got lucky when he won with Tampa. They squeaked into the playoffs, and he had gotten a super team around him. But, you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see if Aaron Rodgers and if Michael Penix can develop, because we watched Jordan Love sit for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers.
And you watched Aaron Rodgers sit for 3 years behind Brett Favre.
And they came out better for it. I think if Kirk Cousins can continue playing at a high level, Michael Penix has the best chance of being a good quarterback.
He could be. He could be. He's pretty fragile. Pretty fragile.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
NC State, I know nothing about them.
So NC State's kind of a dark horse favorite. They have been playing spoiler for every sport in the ACC for like the past 5 years. They have a good team. They're scrappy. Like you say, they're salty. They come in expecting to win. And I think they've got a high chance of going down to the wire in the ACC for the championship. I've got them making the playoff. I think it ends up being a Clemson-NC State ACC title game. And I think Clemson's going to come out on top, but NC State's going to squeak in after winning, 10, 11 games.
Okay.
They've got a pretty easy slated conference. Wake Forest can always be good. They were not so great last year, but they can always be good. Duke has been producing some good players. North Carolina has been producing some good players. So the ACC, the competition's a little stiffer, I think, in terms of NC State really making a run, but I think they've got the talent to do so.
Okay. I'll take your word on that. I don't know shit about NC State. Iowa, I know they're going to play a spoiler to somebody.
I think they might play spoiler to Michigan. I think Michigan's going to try to make a run, and I think Iowa's going to shut it down.
It might be. Iowa's best defense in the country every year. They don't score any points, and the reason they're ranked 25 now is they don't have there's no divisions in the Big 12,
right,
or the Big 10. So top two make the championship game, which means Iowa's probably out of that.
There's a chance though, but Iowa's quarterback is back. Last year they were playing with some offensive lineman who had an arm. Dude was 275 pounds. Dude was huge. He was a big dude. He should have been playing left tackle. This year they've got their quarterback back. They're in a conference where they're going to have a chance to play some high-quality opponents.
Mm-hmm.
But they're high quality. They're not discountable. You know, their defense, the Nebraska.
No, just based off of defense, they're always in it. But this year, I don't know if they're in the Big Ten championship.
I don't know. I think they might be 2 or 3. I don't think they're going to take down Ohio State. But I think
I don't think so.
Spoiler to Oregon. Oregon and their high-powered offense might hit a wall. I'm not.
Could be.
Not likely, but it's possible. And so,
where's that game at? Is it in Eugene or is it in Iowa City?
Let's see. Oh, it doesn't look like they play them.
Oh, okay.
Iowa's toughest game. Iowa has the weakest strength of schedule in the top 25, I'd argue. Their toughest game comes against Ohio State in early October.
Okay.
And they at Ohio State. But they're hosting Washington. They're hosting Wisconsin. They're hosting Nebraska.
Okay. Michigan State sucks. They're at Washington, so that'll be a tough game.
No, they're playing Washington at home.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's a win. At Ohio State, that's a loss. Yeah. At Minnesota, they should win that.
They could concede 11-1.
At Iowa State, that's
no, they're playing Iowa for that one.
In Iowa. Oh, okay. Yeah. So versus Iowa State. So they're so they're at home for Iowa State. That should be a win, but highlight that game. That's on the 7th. Good thing is if they lose to Iowa State, that's an early season game.
And it's non-conference.
Yeah. At Iowa State, you just gotta avoid getting blown out there.
Yeah. Well, if they can keep it tight against Ohio State in Ohio, I think conceivably they could be the number 2 team.
Honestly, their toughest game at UCLA. Is UCLA any good?
I don't know. They're kind of iffy.
It's at Ohio State. That's it. On the 5th of October. That's my anniversary. So.
And Wisconsin is another one of those kind of sleeper programs.
They're good, but that's a home game. So
so we'll see how their strength of schedule. I mean, they could walk out of it in Washington and Minnesota and Wisconsin all end up ranked. They could have wins there.
Yeah, for sure.
They all conceivably win those games and make them over-ranked opponents. That pushes them right up in the rankings.
How's Nebraska going to do? There's always hype around Nebraska.
So they've got Matt Rule, who came in and everybody's pretty high up on him, rebuilding that program. And they've got a really good freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola. And theoretically, Nebraska could be kind of one of those underrated programs this year, but I don't think it's their year yet. I think next year and the year after is when we really start looking at Nebraska if they're not making progress. I think Nebraska is just at the cusp. They're almost there, but they're not quite yet.
Yeah, Nebraska's gotta prove a lot. They haven't been good for a long time, so they just got to prove a lot. The path is there, but we'll see.
It's going to be exciting. I think there's a chance, but it's slim.
Let's see. I'm trying to find the top 25 college betting lines, but they've got the full lines, or like the whole schedule. So, we'll stick with ESPN. I think I got it now. All right. All right, I think this is the top 25. Florida State lost to Georgia Tech.
If you just keep scrolling, we'll hit. We'll just keep going down.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to get the top 25.
Okay, so I don't know how to do it. I can't see the screen. You zoomed in. I know I can do it from my phone. I don't know how to do it on the laptop.
Okay. It's a total boomer moment.
Oh, you're not alone here. Maybe hit conference schedules.
You'd think ESPN would have the top 25.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just start. Howard at Rutgers. Nobody cares.
Taking Rutgers.
Yeah. Western Carolina at NC State. I'll take NC State. I don't know what the spread is, but yeah, take that. North Carolina A&T at Wake Forest. Take Wake Forest. New Hampshire at UCF. Terrible game. Jackson State, UL Monroe.
That one might be interesting.
Jackson State at UL Monroe.
Yeah, that one might kind of be a interesting, if not consequential. Well, it's an inconsequential game.
How is Jackson State? That was where Dion came from, right?
I think so. I think he was either at Jackson State or No, he was at Jackson State. This is their first year, so we'll see. But UL Monroe is kind of they're a spoiler team, and so it might be a pretty fun game to get into.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one. Louisiana Monroe versus Jackson State. So then we got Lafayette versus Buffalo. Nobody cares. Fordham at Bowling Green. Nobody cares. Okay, so we got Murray State at Mizzou.
That one might be a blowout, like a bad blowout.
It should be.
Lindenwood College. I didn't even realize they had a football team over there.
Where's that? Is that in Kansas?
I think Lindenwood's in Kansas.
Okay, and at Kansas, keep an eye on Kansas. Honestly, that's not a bad team. North Carolina at Minnesota. I'd take Minnesota on just being the home field on that.
Yeah.
North Dakota State at Colorado. Take North Dakota State to cover. That's a good team. CU's, I mean, it's Dion, but yeah.
They have the best defensive player in college football on a piss poor defense. So,
yeah, CU's not going to do shit, I don't think. They're not set up to be a good team. North Dakota State's always good. Let's see. Look at see what that spread is. What the shit?
In quick baseball news, Kansas City and Cleveland are tied atop the AL Central at 75 and 58.
Kansas City won today. Fuck yeah.
They clinched the series tiebreaker. So if we finish the season at tied, we win the AL Central because we're 7-2.
No shit.
We've got
Cleveland started out so hot too.
I know. And they were one of the best teams in baseball, but I mean, we are well out of the wild card. Right now Cleveland's in the wild card because we have the tiebreaker.
Well, let's go Royals. I like the Royals. I can't find what the odds are on
NDSU in Colorado.
Yeah. Either way, I'd pick NDSU to cover. I think Colorado wins that game, but I bet it's close. It seems like that's a close game.
According to ESPN Bet, to cover the spread, NDSU is at +10 total.
+10.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
And then over 60.5, and then ML is +300.
+300. I might sprinkle that money line. Honestly,
that money line's good. Colorado's at -380.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna take the money line and probably the points on Colorado. I don't see him beating North Dakota State by 10 points. Coastal Carolina versus Jacksonville. Nobody cares. Southern Utah at Utah. Take Utah with the points. I don't know what the spread is on that, but
the spread is Utah -38.
Yeah, stay away from that. That's a lot of points.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fucking points. That's all Thursday. Friday we got
the second matchup for the Mountain West though with San Jose State on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
How they do. They're playing Sac State, so I can't imagine it's going to be tough, but
take the over on that. What's the over?
Let's go back and try to find Mountain West because I missed it. All right. The over on Sac State, they don't have odds up on this one.
So they're expecting a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it's not. San Jose State's probably going to blow them out.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. Well, keep an eye on that line. Whatever the line is, take Sacramento or San Jose plus the points. Friday we got Oklahoma or Temple at Oklahoma.
It could be fun, but I doubt it. Temple hasn't been a decent football team since I was a child. So
no, I don't know what the spread is on that, but I would stay away. Take it in a teaser, maybe.
It's saying Oklahoma is at minus 42.5.
Too much.
Money
Too
line
much.
is off. They don't have a money line. So
yeah, you could probably take the points on that, but I wouldn't. I'd just stay away. That's a lot of points.
that Western Michigan Wisconsin game might be interesting.
It could be. It could be. Wisconsin's always going to be good. They're going to have a good running back.
Looking at the spread, Wisconsin's at minus 23 and over under 56.5. Money line for 100 for Western Michigan and minus 3,000 for Wisconsin. It's a tough money line, but
that spread, I'd probably go under on the total, and then Wisconsin to cover. But it's still a lot of points. Let's see. We got Clemson at Georgia. What's the spread on that?
the spread for Clemson, Georgia is UGA minus 13.5, and money line is Clemson at plus 425.
Give me Georgia with the points. I think Georgia's gonna curb stomp some people this year. Clemson, maybe. I don't buy Clemson. 14.5, maybe by a point, and take it down to 13.5. But yeah, I don't think Clemson's even in the same category as Georgia.
Yeah. We got Penn State and West Virginia, with the Penn State spread being
that's a spooky game.
Yeah. They're at West Virginia. I mean, that could cause a big. West Virginia's been trying to make a push into the top 25. If they take down Penn State at home, they've got a chance. And that money line is tight, at West Virginia at 260, but the spread is at Penn State -8. That's a score.
I might take West Virginia with the points there. That's going to be a close game. Like West Virginia, Penn State's always like. Doesn't matter how good Penn State and how bad West Virginia is. That like it's a rivalry, and that's a big rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me West Virginia with the points on that. I don't think they win that, but
I think it's close
to cover 8. I like that.
Then Illinois State and Iowa, I don't know. It's a Iowa spread of 22.5, and they don't even have a money line on there.
What's the over on that?
The over under is 40.5, and then the money line is 1,300.
Give me the under on that. Iowa's got the best defense in the country, but pretty much every year. Tennessee at Chattanooga. nothing going on there. South Dakota State at Okie State. What's the spread on that?
The spread is Oklahoma State minus 9.5.
Give me South Dakota State on that. I like that.
Over under at 53.5.
Jackrabbits,
I think, are better than a 53.5 spread, though.
I don't know on the over, but what's the money line on South Dakota State there?
Plus 290.
Plus 290. I like that. I like that a lot. I'll sprinkle on South Dakota State. I don't buy Okie State at all. Like, they got a really good running back, and that's pretty much it. South Dakota State, they know how to win championships, or they at least know how to go into that playoff system. I would take South Dakota State to cover, and I would sprinkle money line South Dakota State. Tennis. We got Ohio State at Akron. That's not going to be that's a nothing game. Texas at, or CSU at Texas. What's the line on CSU Texas?
All right, so spread is 32.
Give me CSU. Give me CSU.
2,000.
CSU's not going to win that game, but I bet that's a 10-point game. It's a home game for Texas, but still, give me CSU points. Give me CSU, or give me the over on that. I think CSU puts up some points on that.
Ooh, Miami, Florida. That's the first game.
Yep. At Florida.
Money. The spread is 2.5. And then the total is 53.5, and the money line is 140 for Miami and 120 for Florida.
140 for Florida. That's tempting.
But a 2.5 spread.
Yeah, I would throw that in a teaser, but I wouldn't take the points. I might sprinkle Florida money line simply because it's at home. UTEP at Nebraska. Honestly, what's the money line UTEP?
1,800.
Sprinkle that too. I don't think they'll win, but Nebraska sucks.
Nebraska.
And UTEP's pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. That's it's not a bad sprinkle. Plus 1,800. Yeah, not bad. I might throw $5 on that. Iowa State hosting North Dakota. I don't know how good North Dakota is.
I don't think that's a game. The money line for North Dakota is 1,500, and the spread is 28.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that. That's kind of about it.
Well, there's Boise State. They're playing Georgia Southern. They can lose there.
Is Georgia Southern D1 school now, or is that still Division II?
I thought they were a D1 school now.
I think you're right on that. I don't know for sure. I know that was in the conversation,
They
but
play the Sun Belt. Yeah, they're D1.
okay. Yeah, D1. And who are they playing?
Boise State. Boise State's at Georgia Southern.
What's the line on that?
The spread is -13. The total is 56.5.
Okay. For Boise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. How is Boise here lately?
They have one of the best running backs in the country, Ashton Genty. We didn't even get to talk about Mountain West. I had a whole thing. I have a whole paper about Mountain West.
We got time. We got time.
All right. Well, so the two front runners right now to take down, to win the Mountain West right now are Boise State and Fresno State. Wyoming's kind of a not super distant third, but not super close. Boise State's got one of the best running backs, Ashton Genty. He's probably going to make, he's going to make his case for the Blitnikoff for sure. Not the Blitnikoff. I think that's the linebackers.
Yeah, Blitnikoff is line.
Whatever the running back award is. Yeah.
Maxwell? Is it Maxwell?
Maxwell Award, yeah. So he's going to make his case for the Maxwell, if not the Heisman. Wyoming just lost Harrison Whaley, not for the whole season, but for a little bit. We've got a decent running back in DJ Jones. He used to run at North Carolina, so hopefully he can kind of continue. He's a veteran, knows what he's doing. But looking at like teams like Fresno State, who's taking on Michigan, I don't know. I think they're going to start off their season on a bad note. But they've got a pretty decent team. Last year they finished, I'm pretty sure, with a pretty decent record. I guess I can't look at last year's. But
how bad is CSU gonna win the conference? That's the question.
I think Wyoming might get nuked, and then CSU has a chance.
You think so?
I think you might have to nuke Laramie before CSU has a chance of winning anything.
Where is the border war this year? It's in
at CSU.
All right. Well,
pretty sure it's at CSU.
I don't have much faith in CSU, but border war at home, I'll take CSU.
I mean, Canvas Stadium is a big stadium, but y'all can't even fill it.
Well, you guys are talking a lot of shit this year, and I would love
for winning 4 straight border wars.
I would love for CSU to knock you off your goddamn high horse.
Well, let's see you try to knock off theirs, then we'll talk. A real contender.
CSU is not a real contender.
We do have Fowler Nicolosi. He's a decent quarterback. And
they've got some weapons. They do have some weapons. Like I said, they took CU to 3 overtimes. They shouldn't have, but they did. And the border war was close. I have a hard time putting faith in CSU. Yeah, it's so how does the Washington State, Oregon State, how does that factor in?
They're functioning as independents. They could both go undefeated this year, and they wouldn't have a chance at a conference unless they played each other. So they're kind of attached to the Mountain West.
I don't see Washington State being a big threat. Oregon State is pretty decent pretty much every year. Like they were never going to win the Pac-12, but I could see them winning, or making a case to win the Mountain West. Boise's always good. Air Force is always spooky. Who knows? Who knows what Air Force has got? Yeah, I don't know. How's Wyoming looking?
So Wyoming's toughest game this season on paper is going to be the ASU game.
Okay.
Boise State at home. And I guess we're at Washington State, so they're a big money school, big market school. I've been to a game at Pullman. It's tough. It's a big crowd. It's a fun stadium to be in. But I was there during the Mike Leach era, so little different. I haven't, I don't know if the culture's changed.
Mike Leach was a fucking legend. The quotes from Mike Leach when he's talking about like the Pac-12 mascots fighting each other, and he's like, I don't even know what a sun devil is, but it sounds scary. Mike Leach was awesome.
We're hosting Air Force. We haven't lost to Air Force at home in a few years, so we've got a chance.
Air Force is always, once again, spooky with that triple option. Who knows? Like some years they're really good, some years not so much. I guess one of those things that a little bit is like we're involved with wars quite a bit, and most of the wars we're dealing with is air power. So Air Force might be a little bit thin on their football squad. Who knows?
Yeah, in terms of who can play football and who Air Force is recruiting, Air Force doesn't need an offensive lineman. They need some kid who can play drone video games.
No shit, huh?
So
they need an expert Call of Duty guy.
Yeah, they need someone who can play with an Xbox control.
Yeah. But they'll probably win 8 games pretty easy.
I hope they don't.
Me too, but just going off historical value, they'll turn out. I think we're kind of. Oh, all right. So Alabama at Western Kentucky. That's a. I bet they don't. Yeah. I bet they don't have a spread on that.
The spread is Alabama 32.
32. New coach. I might take Alabama on that.
I would too. I mean, he's a new coach, but he's a coach who just took a team to the playoff last year, to the championship.
Yeah, but he's also trying to set a precedent for Alabama. You know, he's a new coach at fucking Alabama, so probably gonna want to go balls out on the first one. 32. I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't win by 32.
No.
Ole Miss at Furman.
That's not a game.
Not a game. Furman's a historically black college, so that technically, if you beat them by more than 20, I think that's an act of racism.
Oh, well, it is Mississippi. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to it down there. Kansas State at UT Martin. That's not a game either.
I used to live outside of Martin in Tennessee. It's not a game.
That's not a game. Oregon, Idaho. That's not a game. Oh, here we go. Notre Dame, Texas A&M at A&M.
I was telling you that's going to be a big game.
That is a big game.
It's the spread is 3. Total is 46.5, and the money line is only 130 for Notre Dame.
plus 130 or negative 130?
Plus 130 for Notre Dame, minus 150 for A&M.
Give me Notre Dame. I won't bet a lot on that, but yeah, I'll take Notre Dame on that. Michigan against Fresno State.
They don't have a chance. I was just looking at that one. The spread is 21, and then the total is 45.5, and then the money line is for Fresno State to win is plus 1,100. So I don't think they're expecting Fresno State to put up a fight. It'd be cool if they did, but I would rather them not because it makes my path to the national championship.
I might sprinkle Fresno with the points.
They're a high-scoring offense.
The over, yeah, the over could hit. They're not going to win. that's not a chance.
It would say a lot about Michigan as a program that everybody who's been saying that they don't have a chance this year they were right. So it'd be interesting.
It definitely would be interesting. Yeah, I'll sprinkle Fresno with the points, but it's not a great game to bet on. First couple of weeks are not going to be good.
Wyoming ASU might be a good one. The spread is -6 for ASU with the total over-under at 47.5. But the money line for Wyoming is at 0.195 and -230 for ASU. So it's going to be close. But that six spread is – I'm thinking that Wyoming's got a chance to take it.
6. Give me Wyoming on that.
I think Wyoming's coming off a winning season. They've got a new head coach, but we've got a good quarterback who's been developing, who's played well, who actually is the reason that we were in the game against Texas last year. He came in because Andrew Peasley got hurt, and Evan Svoboda, he came in and he played really well. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception against Texas in a game that we were in up until the last 15 minutes. So I think coming in, our biggest downside is that we're down a running back who was up for preseason All-America or Mountain West at running back. But other than the loss of Whaley, I think we're a strong team coming into this.
All right.
What about New Mexico and Arizona?
Give me Arizona. Hammer that. New Mexico's terrible.
The spread is 31.
Still give me Arizona. Arizona puts up a lot of points. New Mexico is dog shit. So, yeah, I like Arizona to cover at 31 even. That's a lot of points, but New Mexico is so bad. The Sunday night game is interesting. It's USC at LSU. Where's that played at?
That one is going to be played at.
Oh, it's in Vegas. It's
the Modelo Vegas Kickoff Classic, but the spread is 4 in favor of USC, or excuse me, in favor of LSU. Total points is over under at 64.5, and then money line at 155 for USC and 185 for LSU.
I'll probably take the over. My gut says LSU wins that big, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with the points. I'll take the over.
Yeah. Well, outside of their bowl game last year against Louisville, USC lost their last 3.
Okay.
They played Oregon close 36-27, but everything else, actually everything was a 2-score loss. LSU finished the season, including their bowl game, winning 4 in a row on the heels of some pretty solid defense and some pretty solid offense.
Yeah.
So,
the thing with both of them is they lost their quarterback in the first round. So, yeah, give me LSU. I'll go.
Well, I would argue LSU does have Garrett Nussmeier, who was pretty highly touted. He's been a backup, at LSU, but he's been very solid backup at LSU.
Yeah. Just going off a historical record, give me LSU. SEC is a tough conference, and LSU is always in it. USC's soft at best.
I couldn't even tell you who the starting quarterback at USC is going to be.
Yeah. Give me LSU -4. I'll take that. I'll take the over as well. And then the last game of the week is Florida State or Boston College at Florida State.
The spread is -15.5 for Florida State. I don't know, man. I'm going to take Boston College. I don't think I'm going to bet. I'm going to bet against Florida State for the rest of the season. I think Boston.
I'm not going to bet Florida State. I don't think. I kind of want to bet Boston College, but coming off a big loss, I don't know. I'm just gonna not bet Florida State. They're until they prove otherwise, they're done.
Yeah, I don't think Florida State's going to finish with a winning record this season.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They're just kind of done. Georgia Tech, come on. You're supposed to beat those guys by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
All right, so early predictors for the playoffs. Who locked to make it in the playoffs? I think Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, probably K-State, and I want to say Alabama.
Yeah, I've got Alabama in mind. I think Texas is a lock too.
Texas is good. That's a good call. I think Texas. They play Oklahoma this year, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
That's a spooky game.
Yeah, but I think Texas is going to have the edge this year. If simply for just being pissed off about their one loss last year coming against Oklahoma in the Red River Robbery.
Where does K-State play? Or K-State doesn't play Texas this year. They're different conferences.
Oh, they don't.
All right. Well, Ohio State, Georgia, Kansas State, and probably as far as conference winners, I'm gonna go Clemson. Top 4, I think.
Ohio State, Clemson, Kansas State.
Yeah, Ohio State, Clemson, Kansas State, and Ohio State, Clemson, Kansas State, and Georgia. I think that's my top 4.
That's your top 4. All right. I've got Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and Utah, but it's kind of a toss-up between Utah and K-State.
Utah can definitely run the table there. Don't sleep on Utah.
No, I've got my top 12. I got Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, Utah, Texas, Kansas State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, Oregon, NC State, and Boise State. I think Boise State's going to be the best group of 5. I mean, I think it'll be Wyoming, but odds lean towards Boise State. So unless Liberty, if Liberty has another really great.
Oh, we haven't talked about Liberty. They could be good.
They seem to be a pretty good development school. They build quarterbacks and then they ship them off, and they've got good quarterbacks. So Liberty was ranked pretty high. They carried their undefeated record pretty late. So did James Madison. You know, it's possible. I wouldn't be surprised for
not a bad pick.
I still would argue the Mountain West over Liberty, but Liberty outside of the Mountain West, Liberty might be the best group of 5 school.
That's true.
Cincinnati is no longer a group of 5 school. Neither is UCF. So those 2 teams used to kind of be the best outsiders, and now they're inside and they suck. So,
yeah, they're both Big 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and K-State's going to run that shit, I think.
Yeah. Cincinnati might have a better season this year, but they're not coming close to sniffing that championship.
No, I don't think so either. I think if K-State makes the playoffs, they're going to be dangerous. As far as like the big boys, Georgia, Ohio State, obviously going to be in there. Penn State, don't count them out. They got a fucking excellent defense. The Power 5 is going to be, or the group of 5. That's going to be the kind of the difference maker, I think. Boise's a good pick. Fresno's a good pick.
I just don't think. I think Fresno's going to get off on the wrong foot.
They could. They definitely could.
Going into the big house in Michigan, I think that they're going to come back. You've got strong teams in Boise State, Wyoming, CSU. I mean, they play hard. They're not an easy win.
No, CSU's they're not going to make the playoff, but they could definitely play spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, Boise State goes in, or I guess I don't know where CSU is playing Boise, but they go into, let's go see. Boise State does not look like they play CSU.
No shit. All right. Well,
Colorado State does play Fresno.
That's kind of a toss-up.
That's a spoiler. Fresno is kind of been the number 2 behind Boise State. So if Boise State comes into Laramie, when Boise State comes into Laramie and they leave with their tail tucked between their legs because we break Broncos.
Yeah. Right up, boys.
And then you guys go in and you guys take down Fresno State. We could basically be just doing a coup. CSU and Wyoming just asserting their own dominance.
I hate to say this, but if it comes down to that, Wyoming probably takes the border war, and I have no faith in CSU. Like none. They're bad.
Yeah,
it's a bad football team.
I think a big problem is the culture, I think, around it. I have a lot of friends who I love. I'll talk smack all day.
All right.
Stop. But they don't care. All they care about is beating CU. Ohio State fans, all they care about is beating Michigan. But Ohio State's a good team. They get consolation prizes even if they don't beat Michigan.
Wyoming's out to beat everybody. Is that what you're saying?
We are.
Oh, God damn it.
We'll call it.
Now,
I think
now you're on a tear.
Call it the Albany County Range War. It's like Johnson County all over again, except we're taking everybody down.
Don't count out Wyoming. That's the
we've
that's
made
what we got to take away.
We made Josh Allen.
Josh Allen should have been a Bronco too. God damn that.
That was the dumbest decision.
So dumb.
Decision.
So dumb.
Missed draft. I mean, we were so high. The Broncos were so high on Josh Allen. They had more scouting material on Josh Allen than any other team because they just had to drive 2.5 hours north.
They didn't even go to his fucking pro day. That's frustrating.
Josh Allen would have brought the Broncos out of QB purgatory.
Dude, he was an immediate fan favorite.
He wanted to go to Denver.
Yeah, it made all the sense of the world, and he was there. Who else was also there? Lamar Jackson.
Well, yeah, we could have had Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen.
Yeah, and we took Bradley Chubb, who is now playing for the Dolphins.
Bradley Chubb, who wasn't a terrible pick.
No, not a bad pick. I won't give him shit on that. Like
he wasn't as good of a pick as Josh Allen, but he wasn't a bad pick.
No, he was okay.
Josh Allen.
He was fine.
We might have ruined Josh Allen though.
Yeah, we would have.
Josh Allen was able, with Sean McDermott, to get the chance to develop. He was able to grow. He was able to kind of get settled. And they understood it was a rebuilding period. We got quarterbacks, and if they weren't immediately great, we got rid of them.
Yeah.
Who's to say Allen wouldn't be playing for the Bills right now?
Hey, we kept Trevor Siemian for way longer than we should have.
No, I think they were really hoping he'd pan out.
Well, he's still in the league, so he's still a backup.
Yeah, he's good enough to play.
Yeah.
I think we forget, I like to talk about how bad Paxton Lynch was, how bad Trevor Siemian was.
Oh, he was so bad.
But you put me on that field, you see how many times I get sacked or throw an interception.
I think Drew Lock could have been a good quarterback if they would have.
He's still playing for this. He's the backup for Geno Smith.
He might end up starting for the Seattle Seahawks at some point. Or no, he's at the Jets now.
Oh, he got traded.
And so yeah, he's got to last 5 plays and he'll be in.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Outlast Aaron Rodgers' other Achilles.
Yep.
Quick question for you. You're a little older than me. You've been through the. Can you tell me why this game-worn football jersey is actually like a dress? Why is it so long?
That I can't tell you. Mostly because Wyoming's gay, I think.
A little drag queen football game.
Yeah.
The Wyoming drag Cowboys will kick y'all's ass in the border war. I want you to know that. We'll come down to your little Fort Collins drag readings that you guys have over there in those coffee shops, and we'll go in. We'll do our own little drag reading. And we'll be dragging y'all through the mud.
I wish I had a good response to that, but I really don't. CSU is gay as shit, and
I don't care. I just think I'm not fun jokes to make with that too.
Man, the further I get away from graduating, I'm just like, man, I should have went to Wyoming.
I have a lot of friends who say the same things or the opposite things. I had my freshman roommate ended up going to UCCS because there's nothing to do in Laramie. And he didn't like the fact that if we wanted to do something that wasn't shooting guns or drinking at the bars, we had to go to Fort Collins. And he didn't want to deal with that. I get it.
Well, that sounds about right.
For someone like us who's in the ag program, who's doing this kind of stuff and wants to do it for the rest of their lives, I think there's no better place. Fort Collins is more of a city now than it's ever been.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's a great vet school. I got a lot of good friends who are great vets who came out of Colorado State.
Dude, I don't know if there is a good vet school. The more I've been around, and I've got a lot of friends that went to CSU vet school, and it's fine. Don't get me wrong, but honestly, I don't value vets like I value vets the same way I value lawyers. They're just not very good.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm taking my own vet tech classes, because I don't want to have to pay unless I have to.
It's not a bad choice, but I know a lot of vets that came out of K-State or CSU, and I'm smarter than those guys by a lot.
It's weird too. I've got a kid who decided to quit vet school because he couldn't figure out biochemistry. I asked him how he did in high school chemistry. He said, "Oh, I aced it." I said, "Well, how'd you fail biochem?" It's the same shit.
Should be.
Kid, I hate being an older person going back to college. I'm 24 years old. I'm not old, but I'm older than all these.
For college, you're ancient, though.
Some kid yesterday in my history class, the teacher's like, "Well, why do you think we end this class? Why do you think our period is through 1865? And full of confidence, this kid goes, "Well, that's when the Civil War started." These kids are stupid. Man, I'm telling you, they're stupid.
Dude, it's
rangeland management. Somebody, the professor asked today, "Why do you think open spaces and rangelands are important outside of urban areas?" And some kids said, "Because they look nice."
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Go back to California.
I mean, to be fair,
they do look nice.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong, but he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
I'd love to get into it with you. I'd love to just college horror stories. An adult trying to go back through college in 2021.
Let's schedule that. Let's schedule that.
Yeah, give me a few more weeks to gather data on my fellow idiots.
I'm game. Because my last semester of college is when the Obama revolution happened, and I remember because Obama came and spoke at CSU, and it was only reason I remember that is they warned us way beforehand, and I was like, I'm just not going anywhere near campus. It's just not going to do it.
Went to CSU and not Boulder, because at the time Boulder was way more liberal. I think
it still is, but CSU's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, being in Boulder, I think it's almost switched. I think generations have kind of changed over.
Oh no, shit. Like the old trust funds are like, hey, my dad that made this all this money turns out he was pretty good at some shit.
Yeah.
Because back when I was in college, it was the opposite. Where it's like son of a rich kid who's like, oh, we should do socialism.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, because now you've got the ranchers' kids going to Wyoming. I don't think that's ever changed. I don't think it ever will, because Wyoming.
Yeah, well, it's the one school in Wyoming.
Wyoming somehow is a very preferable state to live in, and yet they make it seem, and rightly so. I hate Wyoming. Don't move here, by the way. Anybody?
No, it sucks. Don't do it.
Wyoming sucks. Go to Colorado. Go to Denver.
Don't go to Colorado. Go to Kansas. Kansas is awesome.
Go to Nebraska. Actually,
It's the best.
Lincoln.
It's the best.
Lincoln. The tourism.
North Platte. North Platte is the coolest place you'll ever be.
You know, the first Cabela's is in Nebraska. Why wouldn't you want to live by the first Cabela's?
Seriously, Sydney, Nebraska. Go live there.
Yes, please. Wyoming, it's terrible. We still have to deal with Indian raids. I have a deal right now to keep my horses safe.
Colorado used to be cool, but now it's all liberal, so stay away.
Yeah, well, I think the only good thing Colorado has done that the liberals were a big part of is the weed.
I wish they weren't the first ones.
I agree. I think Washington should have. But I think they've done a really good job of mitigating the drug. Oregon did the opposite.
Oh, no, they just legalized everything all at once.
Colorado was like, hey, we're going to legalize weed.
Oregon also quickly went back on that. They're like, oh, yeah, by the way, meth is still illegal here.
Sorry, no decriminalizing methamphetamines.
Yeah.
No, I think Colorado, I would not consider myself a conservative either by modern standards, because I think they're all full of shit.
That makes you a libertarian.
Yeah, it does. But sometimes people hear that and they're like, "Oh, you're just an anarchist."
No, and I'm not an anarchist. I've thought about it, but I can't go full anarchism. Like it just. It doesn't matter how small the group is. There's going to be a leader, which means there's a government.
There is a form of hierarchy. Yeah.
Yep.
I think the smaller the government in Wyoming, I think does a really good job of it.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I like Rand Paul's explanation. It's like, I want a government so small I can barely see it.
And Wyoming is like, hey, we're doing stuff here. I've got professors who are on the city council. I had a professor at Laramie County Community College way back when who was a state senator.
Have you bought property there yet?
No, I'm renting my house. So
hold on. Wyoming is full of white supremacists.
It is.
They are the worst. It's windy as fuck. And you know what? There's a reason the property values are so low.
Low. Meth. I mean, the real estate agent.
The meth is so bad. So bad.
It's not even good meth.
Not even good meth.
You go to Colorado to get your meth and your weed.
Hey, it's the fucking worst state in the union, and there's a reason why they kicked Liz Cheney out, because they're so racist.
She was too liberal for them.
Right. That's so funny.
Do you remember a few years back when the student body of the university, including the LGBT council, voted to remove the current sitting school president, because she was too far liberal? I
know. That's why I love Wyoming.
Voting for communist policies, and even the liberal groups on campus. It's the bluest county in Wyoming, outside of Jackson Hole. And they still voted out a university president because she was too liberal.
And you know what? God bless, and stick around, because mostly for censorship sake, we're gonna end that there. But like, let's keep talking. We got a lot to talk about, and since this is a sports show, please go subscribe to the Death of Fun podcast. That's where I'm going to put all this content. I put it on the main Burnin Daylight page. I'll continue to do so, but from here on out, it'll be 30 minutes, and then you have to go to Death of Fun. So just go to the Death of Fun podcast, and we're gonna try to grow that channel. Hopefully that'll work. Where we can just have fun, you know. But anyway, Eric, this has been a blast. I always will think sports is an important vector for American men, and I say men very, very succinctly, like bitches need not apply. And I think America needs that.
I disagree there. We might disagree there a little bit, but I don't know. I served with some girls who could absolutely whoop my ass if we were to play sports.
Were they bitches though? I don't think they were.
Define bitches. I guess if there's a definition, they were not.
Did you say get up here, bitch, or was that bitch already up there?
Oh, that bitch was already up
exactly. There. So she's not a bitch. Like I'm talking to the men. Like if we're talking about men, don't be a bitch. Listen to our podcast. And yeah, we're gonna keep it going, and we're gonna talk all the shit. And by the way, like when Jake is here, like he's a CSU fan, he's a Raiders fan, and he's a Packers fan. And like I said before, I think the only thing that we can agree on is we all kind of like the Packers, but we can disagree on all the other shit. All the other shit.
The Raiders are awful. We can agree on that. The Raiders suck.
Oh, they fuck the Raiders. Fuck the Raiders. Gardner Minshew is a white trash piece of garbage.
Hey, wait. You don't need to be disrespecting.
I thought we hated the Raiders.
Gardner Minshew. It's not his. He didn't choose the Raiders. He got traded. All right. We like Gardner.
See, there's levels to everything. Now he's a Raider, so fuck him. I don't.
That's true. He's a Raider. Don't fuck Gardner Minshew, the guy. Fuck Gardner Minshew, the Raider.
You're right. He's a Raider. And that's yeah. Well, before we go off on too much of a tangent, I mean that's what America is, America. But anyways, I can't wait. Football season is heating up. Let's see how we did on college football next week, and then the real football starts, and we're gonna talk NFL next week, and it's gonna be fun. And once again, though, that MLB playoff race is fucking hot. It's hot right now.
City, Cleveland, they're making a push. You've got
Diamondbacks. The NL West is hot right now, except for the Rockies. The Rockies are
going to play spoiler for somebody.
They have to. They're bound to win a series here and there. They just did it to the Padres. My niece is all of a sudden she's a diehard Padres fan, and she's like, she texts me every day, and she's like, "Did the Padres win?" Yes, they did, but they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Rockies. So go ahead and suck on that.
Rockies can't beat a team unless they're the Padres, and that's all.
Right.
Fuck the Padres.
Exactly.
They lose. I hope they never win again.
Well, yes, I agree with all that sentiment. But at the same point, they're the least offensive of all the National West teams. So, if somebody's going to win the National League West, I hope it's the Padres, but still fuck the Padres.
Why not the D-backs?
I don't hate the D-backs. That's my boys' team. So that's kind of, if the Rockies wouldn't have made 20 wins by Mother's Day, I would have bought a D-backs hat. But they did. So I'm still a Rockies fan. And yeah, I hope they spoil somebody's season. And it's bound to happen.
It's
National League West is really, like I said, it's really hot right now. But they still got to play the Rockies, and they got to play them at Coors. And that's a whole different game.
It is. You can't win it.
Eric, this has been fun. everybody go sign up Death of Fun podcast on YouTube, and we'll be back every week doing the same old bullshit. And honestly, I think we're pretty decent. We'll see next week how good of a guest we are on sports, but I think we know sports enough to make good bets. So come check us out. Other than that, go follow Eric Winkler on Facebook and Instagram. And other than that, move your ass. We're burning daylight. I don't have a video yet. Hold on.
We're holding.
There we go.
I got beer in my boots, dirt on my truck, corn on my mind, and a gun up my butt. It's a small town. At least there's dirt, at least there's beer.
One of these days, I'm gonna get the Wilsons to do a cover of this song.
That'd be great.
Dude, Rachel Wilson doing like her soprano with backup lyrics to this.
Oh yeah,
fucking song.
it'd be perfect.
It'd be so good. I've got them somewhat on the hook. It's gonna happen. I think. I might have to pay him a little bit of money.
You might have to pay this song. You might have to pay him a little bit of money.
It's I sent him the video and I said I need you guys to cover this, and he goes, So I'm pretty sure he's in. Pretty sure.
Trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and butts, big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer it floods, the butts get mud, the butts all out, the guns are proud. Got a butt on my plate, a biscuit in my butt, a gun in my butt, and a butt. It's true and trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and butts. Big red cups, dirty boots, dirty beer, dirty butts. Let's all cheer. Oh, the beer is good, the trucks get mud, the guns are loud, the butts are proud. Got a butt on my plate, a biscuit in my foot, a gun in my butt, and a butt. It's true. Beer in trucks, dirt kicks up, guns in butts, big red cups, dirty boots. Dirty beer, dirty butts, let's all cheer.